Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I think everyone is getting my voice. If someone is watching, please comment whether you are getting voice or not. So today we have Siddiqui with us, and he is going to give some introduction on IVC script, how to decrypt it, and some other important factors regarding the IVC script. Last week we have seen Yajnadevan paper, and we presented some aspects of this same paper. Now we are having Siddiqui and his paper too. Uh, so let's see what his paper is. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce Nash Siddiqui. He's he's an alumni of IIT Kharagpur and also architecture. He's an architect and he's been working on the IVC script for the past 3-4 years. So let's not waste the time. Good evening, sir. Nash Siddiqui, sir.
Hey, good evening. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your channel. This is my first chat on this particular subject. So I prepared a small presentation to address the various issues related to IVC script. And this is a quite a big, vast subject. So we are today focusing mainly on the falsifiable methods which have been now deployed for last a decade or two, mainly to decipher the Indus script in a way which is mathematically provable. So apart from that, I will be also looking at it from a visual language point of view of visually how important it is to identify it apart from computational linguistics and various other fields which are now involved in deciphering the script. So as you can see here, there's a script on top here, and then there's a beautiful seal. This particular seal, as per my decipherment, is about Lord God Kartikeya, Skanda Kartikeya, and it is seven matrikas, the seven matrikas which protected Lord Kartikeya. And you can see two heads of Agni. And the most important thing about this seal is if you see in the center, there's a circle and there are dots around it. So now IVC actually represented the stars by dots. And I can give you a lot of other examples of why and so. So this is basically Kritika constellation or Pleiades. So now, as you can see, at the onset, I've given you a very graphical introduction to the seal. But the focus here is how you are analyzing the script by not so graphical means, but by analyzing the script. All right. So please, can you go to the next slide?
So are you suggesting that this is a Dravidian language?
Not
I'm
really.
sorry. I
This is
just to get idea. I'm
yeah,
asking
yeah.
the initial question.
No, not really. It's an Indo-European language, and but it was multilingual. The script was used to write different languages. Like for Brahmi is used to write, Tamil, Sanskrit, Prakrit, etc. So the script has some elements in which, I have found that it was written by using Dravidian words, and I can give you some examples for that.
Yeah.
But to say that
Why I
this,
asked this question
yeah,
immediately because viewers get an idea on what you are trying to say, so they can listen in the same way. That's why I asked this initial question. From now onwards, I won't
no, it's
ask
too
again. Don't
early.
move it.
Yeah, so the first step is to decipher it, right? And
Yeah.
then the next steps will follow whether what is the interpretation, what is the language of how, so when I did my decipherment around 2 years back, I showed it to some linguists and they were just laughing. They said, there's no way in this particular era, an Indo-European language will be present in IVC. And in 23 July, you have the Hegarty et al. Paper, and then it says, no, it's possible, it's highly possible. And then they have given certain routes of how it came. So the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So we have to just read what the script is telling us. What it is, how it came about is subject to after you decipher it, right? So it's so the decipherment should tell you exactly what it is, and not it should not subject to your confirmation biases. So this is exactly called confirmation bias, that you have certain biases and you always try to conform to that bias, that no, it should be Dravidian, it should be Sanskrit, it should be Gondi, it should be Sindhi, I mean various sorts. But what it is actually, that is what exactly, that is the exact reason why I'm here to speak about. Yeah. So don't worry, we will see it as we go on. But a valid question, yeah, please. Okay. So you were asking me how did I get into this whole thing, right? So at the end of 2021, I think my alma mater, IIT Kharagpur, they published a calendar for year 2022. And this was very interesting because they set up an organization called Indian Knowledge Systems, or IKS. And it was established in the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning, or let's say the professors of Department of Architecture and Regional Planning were instrumental behind the IKS establishment of the IKS system. So this got my attention. This said what's going on in my alma mater, right? So we are known as a technical institute, and suddenly I find that it is talking about culture, the Indian tradition, and a lot of other metaphysical and philosophical aspects of our culture. So, and then I saw this particular seal here, which was very distinctly in the seal. And then, I read the article of what they were saying, this particular calendar. And then I found out that, well, they are saying all this, but it seems the Indus script is still not deciphered. So on what basis are they making all these assumptions that it is so and it is so and it's so? So then I did some research of what is the update on the decipherment of Indus script. So that time I read some papers regarding the linear Elamite and Francois Doucet. He deciphered the Elamite script, but there was no mention of Indus script. It was very close. Some people say it's very close. People are working on it, but there was no scientifically accepted or a paper which is accepted by. There's a general consensus that it has been deciphered. So then I started looking at the symbols. So if you can go to the next one. So this all started on, I remember the day, it was 4th of January 2022. And these are the general symbols and seals which is found in the Indus Valley script. Normally they're very small script seals, like 4 centimeters by 4 centimeter seals. And it's like a negative. So you print it on, you can see the terracotta, here, the impressions. You press it on a medium in which you will have the impression of the seal. And also there are various trading routes which Indus Valley has, and there you can see the seals from the Gulf, from Mesopotamia, and even Elamite seals here. So this is generally how the script, the iconography, and the seals look like. So this was my first introduction to the Indus seals and the tablets and other artifacts. Next, please. Now, what is the timeline of Indus Valley civilization? Now, people who are into this topic, they know it very well. But I put these two images, which are very significant because it shows you the white dots, it shows you how the Indus settlements were. And there are also other graphs which shows you how they moved, how they dispersed with the changing climate. But this one, it shows very clearly that there are mountains on the eastern side, on the north. So it's very difficult to come to Indus Valley. So it was insulated from the Central Asia. And then you have a big Thar desert on the west. And then you have these river systems, extensive river system, network of rivers. Most of the developments, the one which are very prolific, were between the two rivers. So that gave them another layer of, stability. So this particular civilization was quite big. I mean, it was bigger than Mesopotamia, Egypt, or Chinese civilization at that time. In terms of area, it was massive, quite vast. Also, the most noted thing is for 2000 years, I mean, imagine 2000 years, it was in a state of development, and there was no indication of major wars or upheavals. So there was relative stability, and that's where you have all the developments of the the urban settlement, the script. So, and all the definition which goes into defining it as a civilization existed. But nowadays, actually, people are moving away from using the word civilization, and they're more into culture and other nomenclature. The image on the right is the genetic lineage of what is the genetic makeup of the Indus clan. And again, we have Rakhigarhi, and we have the very famous Rakhigarhi skeleton, and there were a lot of genetic studies which went into it. We will deal into genetics later, which is a separate issue, but it looks like the IBC was formed by the Iranian hunter-gatherers and the Onge or the Andamanese hunter-gatherers, or we call it AASI. And you can see almost 85% is the Iran-related Neolithic genes out there. You can see the timeline also when it was done. But also there was Mehergarh 1 before that, which is like 7000 BC and before. So if you can go to the next one, we can explore more about the timeline of Indus Valley. This is a very good chart. It gives you a relative comparison between different civilizations, the Bronze Age civilizations, as we call them. So you can see Mesopotamia was quite, the mature phase, the green was quite developed before IVC. And IVC was the mature Harappan phase, or the integration era was from 2600 to 1900 BCE. But below you can see the Neolithic Mehergarh 1A, pre-ceramic Neolithic, and also corresponding before the Ubaid culture in Mesopotamia, you can see the Neolithic activity in that region. So this is a very useful chart. It also tells us, the development of the scripts was naturally was done first in Mesopotamia, and then and it was done simultaneously in Egypt and Indus Valley, and then further in China. Next. This is the detailed chronology if you want to know about, actually what, from where to where it happened, how it happened. But we are mainly concerned, and we mainly focus on the mature Harappa phase, which has the most advanced of the scripts and the seals. But there are some very interesting seals before and after. And as you can see, in the late Harappan, you have the symmetry H culture, which has started coming in, where you started seeing the cremation in the burial urns. And there was some change in the culture and the material during that time. And that was a decline of the Indus Valley civilization, and very few seals and inscriptions were produced after 1300 BCE. Next, please. So these were the major sites. You can see the extent of the sites during the most stable period and most creative period of the Harappan phase, mature Harappan phase or integration era from 2600 to 1900 BCE. It's almost 700 years. You can see the major cities there: Banawali, Ganediwala, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and also Rakhigarhi. And then on the left, you can see the Shere Shokta, the Mundigarh, which is the Helmand Valley civilization. And on the top, you can see Shotugai, which was an outpost near BMAC. And this was towards, you just follow the Kabul River and then you go via the Khyber Pass to cross the Hindu Kush. And you also see Mehergarh, where you have the Bolan Pass, and that was the route. The Bolan Pass was one of the routes to come from the east. And then there was the fortified town of Nosharo. So this is a very interesting one. You can see the ones in Kutch, Lothal, Dholavira, etc. You can see the extent. And Bhagatrawa is, I think, at the Narmada River, near the Narmada River, Tapti. That is the southernmost settlement in near Gujarat. So this is an interesting graph which says how extensive the civilization was. Next, please. So what exactly is Indus script? And how it started? I mean, what is the earliest science which we found about this script? So it was basically made on the pottery and before filing the pottery. And so we can say that, most of the scribes maybe were related to the potters and the pottery makers. But essentially, the pottery makers had an important role in the development of the Indus script. And here you can see some kind of plant symbols, branches with plants. So this is how it was depicted, the first signs. Next. So in terms of the seals, these are the seals you can see here. How do you identify which is a script and which is an iconography? I mean, these are all inscriptions. So there's a debate. I mean, if you see respected, Sri Kalyan Raman, and he's of the opinion that each and every graphical object, everything is an inscription. He does not differentiate between a script and graphics. He says that everything is an orthographical, representation. He has his own theories. But anyway, so the ones which I have circled is basically script. And then you have some animal kind of motifs, and you have some human motifs. So these are basically zoomorphic or anthropomorphic seals. There are tablets and there are the artifacts. So how do we know this is the script? So there's one clear indication is that towards the end of the mature Harappa period, the iconography completely stopped, like completely. So the seals you see on the right are without iconography. So you can imagine, you see that, immediately you can connect that this is the script. And there are tons of such seals without iconography. So it's very clear that this is the script and the rest were iconography. Next, please. Again, this medium was not directly inscribed on a plate or a pottery mark. It was a negative. So this technology was as if to reproduce this particular script and symbol multiple times. So that's perhaps one of the reasons why they're using it as a seal, to produce it multiple times. So it was a negative. So seal is like a negative. So what is a seal and what is a sealing, and how do you identify them? So for people who are seeing it for the first time or reading this kind of literature or the corpus, if you see the seal on the left, there is a number. It says M3377A. So the M stands for the particular city or settlement in which it was discovered. In this instance, it is Mohenjo-daro. 377 is the number, and A, the capital A, it denotes that it's a seal. And immediately below, you can see the impression, or the one which is reversed, is denoted with a small a. So that's how you identify which is a sealing, which is an impression, and which is a seal. And on the sealing, on the impression, you can see that the background is the script is slightly etched outside in most cases. Then you have two images here. This is one of the most prolific seals from Harappa. H stands for Harappa. The seal number 1657. A is for seal, and the small a on the right is for sealing. So this is generally how you make out which is a seal and which is a sealing. So if I'm reading it from left to right, generally I will read it from the tail of the animal to the head of the animal in most cases. And if you're reading from right to left, you're reading from the horn or the head of the animal to the tail of the animal. Just to remember it as a thumb rule. It doesn't work like that all the time, but yeah, it's you can say it's a thumb rule. Next, please. So what is a sign list? So now all these different symbols on various artifacts, on the seals, on pottery, on tablets, they were all collected and they were all then documented. And one of the first works of documentation, the major works, was done by Shri Padma Shri Iravatham Mahadevan, who is one of the legends of Indus script. He has done some path-breaking and pioneering work in epigraphy and in documenting the inscriptions and seals. And then also you have idea of 80, of course, the Finnish government and their funding had a lot of papers and a lot of research into the Indus script during that era. And the brothers of Simo Parpola, Dr. Simo Parpola and Dr. Asko Parpola, they developed this idea of 80. So this sign list is basically around the 417 symbols in IM77. It is IM stands for Iravatan Mahadevan, and it was established in year 1977. That's why it's called IM77. The other one was developed in year 1980. There is various numbers of symbols in each series, depending upon whether they think it's similar or they have some difference based on certain graphical nuances. Right. So in this one, there's one image missing, but still, this is just a representation of the type of symbols we have. Next, please. So there are various collections and various ways in which all these seals were categorized. You can see the year, and the latest is Andreas Fuls and Brian Welch. They have established something which is called ICIT, a huge database, and they have various signs, around 709 signs or so in the Fuls ICIT. So some people use that, some people use IM77, it depends. So for any of these statistical method of, especially Markov and other in which you are studying the frequency, this is very important of how you categorize the signs. Because the frequency distribution slightly changes, although Farmer, Witzel, and Sproat do not agree with that, but still. So this gives you about what has been done to document the signs, and it's quite an extensive work has been done. I mean, this particular paper by Andrew Fuls and Wells, Brian Wells was written in decades, like 10, 15 years. Next, please. And recently, the fonts have been created of the Indus script. You can download that font in your computer and you can install it, and then you can type it in Indus script. This is one such example. Next, please. So in terms of history of writing systems, it all started around the syllabic script out of the pictograms, where started normally around 2400 BCE. But before that, it was all pictographs. It was all different symbols. They were not syllabic, or as now in English language, the ABCD. It was not like that. So Mesopotamia had the pictographs, and then it moved into cuneiform, and then you have Elamite, which was very close to the Indus script. But we don't know at this point whether Indus script was logographic, logo-syllabic. Unless there was some study which was done, and then we will come to that. Next, please. This is generally showing the distances of, where and when in terms of time and in the script was. And you can see that the logo-syllabic scripts were developed quite late. Next. So what is the status of the decipherment of the Indus script right now? That's a very interesting question. There are hundreds of decipherment attempts to decipher it. People have used various methods, but essentially everyone has his own bubble chamber, and they, whatever they see is like, five blind men and an elephant. Somebody says it's not a script, which is farmer, whistle, and sprout, and we'll come to that. They completely rubbished it. They said these are all symbols. It does not denote any meaningful, intelligent script. Then there are some who believe that this is only for trading commodities, and these symbols were like stamps and for accounting or trading, and it has no religious significance. It has no so it was basically classless, religionless picture here. Then some people like Srini, respected Kalyan sir, he believes that it's all about metal, metal, and metal, and I mean he believes that it's everything to do with the fusing of the metal and metallurgy. Then some believe, like from S.R. Rao onwards, that it is Sanskrit, and there are a lot of people who believe it's Sanskrit, and a lot of people, and the recent development by Yajnadevan not only believes Sanskrit, but it's classical Paninian Sanskrit. So, and then the last, of course, Tamil and Dravid has been going on for a long time, from the time of Iravat and Mahadevan and Asko Parpola. And then recently, there has been some attempts on Prakrit, Sindhi, Gondi, etc., etc. So we really don't know what it is now because everyone has its own view, and it's very difficult to know what kind of language it encodes. So that's where our assessment comes into the picture. Next, please. Okay, so respected Padma Shri Ravatan Mahadevan, he is the father figure. He's done some epic work for Indus script. He has documented it. He has done a statistical analysis. He has done an attempt on deciphering it, mainly as Tamil, but also he has done it a very scientific and mathematical analysis of the whole thing. Next, please. The two giants of the Indus script, Dr. Simo Parpola and Dr. Asko Parpola, they have done terrific work for documenting all the major CAI SI volumes, five of them. They have the role in documenting the script and doing all the analytical work. Dr. Asko Parpola has written several books about deciphering Indus script and various other observations which he has. He has learned Tamil, and he's quite loved there down in the south. He's also called Asokan, actually. Yeah. Next, please. So here it started. Farmer, Witzel, and Sproat, and I must admire their guts that in the Journal of Vedic Studies, they published an article in 2004 which says the collapse of the Indus script and the myth of a literate Harappan civilization. And they completely rubbished. They said that this script is unintelligible. It doesn't encode a language, and they gave various reasons for that. Next, please. So they also analyzed, the previous analyses by Mahadevan, Wells, and about the frequency analysis, etc. And they completely rubbished it. They said this is, it might not, and so they said that in the system was neither able or not apparently meant to record speech. So it may not. So they just rubbished this particular graph or study. Next. Then they say that this is repetitive, and it denotes that all the signs which are here denotes that it's some of them are meaningless. How you can make meaning of them, and so all these different instances, they have given different reasons of why they think this does not encode any intelligible or intelligent language. And here, if you can just go back, here you can see H764B, the seal for the first time. And there's a reason why this was used by Yajnadevan. You can understand now why. Next. So in their this particular paper, they have given some criteria in which they will accept that this particular script has a language and it has a structure, provided that all these 5 points are met. So one of them, number four, sorry, is that if a clear set of rules were published that allowed any researcher, besides the original proposal of those rules, to decipher a significantly large body of indescriptions using phonetics, syntactic, and semantic principles of no greater number or complexity than those needed to interpret already deciphered scripts. So this is, anyways, they are saying that whatever rules apply to deciphering other languages should be applied here. And things like that. You can see all those different caveats which they have presented here. Next, please. And then this was doubled down by Richard Sproat in 2023 in his this particular book, and he still insists. And by the way, Richard Sproat is a computational linguist. So this is a very specialized field, and I think he's the one who, because of his field, is more suited or apt to analyze these kind of works, which includes both the computational and mathematical statistical methods as well as linguistic, understanding of the subject. Next. Then there was a rebuttal by Rajesh Rao, Nisha Yadav, Mayank Vahia, including with the blessings of Professor Iravatham Mahadevan in 2010. And it says Entropy, the Indus script and language, a reply to Richard Sproat. Next, please. This is quite interesting. So what they did is they did again this analysis and frequency analysis of the script, and they said that the maximum entropy will be for a DNA, and the minimum is for a computer language, and they found that the languages are somewhere in between, and you can see those graphs above the red line above. You can see that different languages: Indus, Sumerian, Tagalog, etc., etc. So they said that the entropy analysis proves that in this script does not only it encodes a language and also a very sophisticated one at that. So that was the crux of this particular paper. They refuted all the points raised by Farmer, Bitzel, and Sproat. Next. So these are some of their findings, and also this also refers to the Markov model analysis done by Yadav et al. At 2010. And then it says that also there's a lot of future in doing this kind of study by the ideas from computational linguistics, from and they mentioned all those names. So that's it. So that's that was going on since 2010. Next. Also, this study, the Markov model study, was done again by a team, but this is the concept of the Markov model. It is basically in probability theory, it is a model to create basically to identify different patterns basically, and relationship between different all those particular objects. So this is used to analyze different linguistic patterns within a language, and also relationship between different symbols. Next, please. So this study was done by another group of Indian scientists under the patronage of Iravatham Mahadevan, and they did a complete statistical study under the Markov model of the Indus script. Next, please. So this is the kind of study which they did. The interaction of different symbols, the frequency, the endings, how they interact with each other. There's a lot of things which goes into the Markov model. Next. So this was their inference that it is the likelihood of a particular sequence of Indus signs with respect to the learned Markov model tells us that it is very likely that it encodes a language. And not only that, it's a very sophisticated language. That's what they are implying here. Next. So apart from that, computational scientists and also some other experts like Andreas Fuls have done another analysis in which he found that the Indus script, the nature of the script was not syllabic, was not logographic, but a mixture of both. It was logo-syllabic, right? So there were some symbols which were like logograms, and there were some symbols which were like syllabic. Next. Okay, so coming back to the topic which you had the discussion last week, Yajnadevan's decipherment attempt and his assumptions. So I will divide his decipherment into three parts. One is the assumptions, which he started before his method, and then his method, which is applied, the cryptanalysis method, and then the last part, which is the result. So this one is the assumptions before he even started. So let's go into the assumptions. The script direction. He said that the preferred script direction seems to be right to left in an impression, which is the internal evidence as per Mahadevan. And also there was some study done by Ashraf and Sinha, which was a mathematical model. So can you go next, please? So let's analyze what is it all about. So in terms of direction of writing, and this is the most important thing when you start decipherment of any script, you need to know the direction of writing. Without that, it will not make any sense from the other direction. So how much study has been done on that? Let's see. Let's go through it. So in this seal, if you see, this is actually an impression, a sealing, not a seal. So this is an impression of a seal. You can see the script has crowding on the left side. All those symbols you can see, they're all crowded in one. On the right side, it's nice letters one after another, but at the end, they're all staggered or crowded. So based on that, they said that the writing and the reading should be from right to left. But I think they forgot something. Can you go to the next one? Okay, so I just reversed it, and this is actually now a seal. So this is very interesting now. So in a seal, this is where a scribe will inscribe all these letters. And as you can see, the letters are inscribed from left to right because the cramping or the crowding was on the right, correct? So they were writing left to right, right? So why, if they were writing from left to right, why the reading will also be not from left to right? So they will be inscribing in the natural direction of writing on a pottery from left to right, on a tablet from left to right, and also on a seal from left to right. Now, whether they do the first letter of this particular inscription or they start with the last letter. So there can be a lot of analysis which can be done of how they did it. But by immediately flipping the seal, all that argument is suddenly very suspicious. So now you think maybe there's a point, maybe they wrote left to right. So it's not very sound, this argument of cramping. Next. Also, Yajnadevan said that there are some seals in which not only the cramping, but also it was written in 2 lines. Fine. So those are the seals. Sealings. These are the impressions. You can see small letter A. Let's go to the next slide. I just flip them, all right? So what you see on the seal on the left, the letters are smaller and they get bigger and bigger as you go on the right. So apparently they were writing from left to right, and it's a clear indication of left to right writing. On the image on the right, it's not very clear, but you can see the top line was written first. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's all in one line. It's very neatly done. But when you go to the next line, the line below, you can see the cramping, and it was less fitting exercise. So again, it was written from left to right. So my question is, like, if this was written from left to right, was that a normal direction, or they changed the direction of writing when they wrote on other medium and not in a seal? So this requires a very in-depth analysis. And also very important point to note is that there might be a pause here in the inscription. So that means the inscription on the top may be an adjective, and the one below denotes a deity. So deity and then adjective of the deity. So in my reading, I do see a pause, and I do see a clear differentiation between them. I don't know whether in Yajnadevan's reading there is a pause, or it's continuous. It's one particular sentence. I don't know that. Next. So there are certain seals which are not found in an archaeological context. In an archaeological context, you dig up layer by layer, and where the seals is derived, you note the depth, and then that's how you date it. So there's a lot of documentation which is done in an archaeological setup. But in the subcontinent, there are a lot of sites in which the locals got the seals somehow, and they never documented at what depth they got it. But the area is known. Maybe it's from Mehergarh or from Balochistan. It's known. So one such collection was with Oliver Hoare, and this is a very famous connection, and it's quite remarkable. In this, you can find one seal in which the inscription is vertical, and this is quite remarkable. Now, people say they are fake. Well, they might not be in an archaeological context, but they may not be fake. To say that it's a fake requires a lot of analysis, graphical analysis. Maybe you need to have the physical sample of the seals and test them. But looking at them and looking at the script, and I have analyzed the script, and it looks to me that this is not fake. This is not at all fake. They are actually remarkable. So what this tells us? This tells us that if you consider that this is written from top to bottom, and then if you transpose that from horizontally, it turns out that the script reading direction would be from left to right. Now I can explain them in detail about this particular slide, but I'm telling you that this particular discovery indicates that the direction of reading is from left to right. Next, please. Now this is a physical, this is the moment of truth. So this is an evidence. This is a physical evidence. However, this is not in the script. This particular seal was found in Tarigat. It's one of very ancient site near Raipur. And this is in Brahmi. And the interesting part is the seal is the same direction, right to left, and the impression is from left to right. You can see here it's written Samved. This you can't deny. This is a hard evidence. This is hard evidence. Now you might say that there was no continuity, or there was continuity. That's what you're saying. So if you say that this is maybe they changed the direction, that means there was no continuity, right? So you're denying continuity. Or you might say that there was a point till which it was in that direction and then it changed to another direction. Okay, well, you can say that, but I'm giving you an evidence which proves that there was continuity, and the direction of reading was always left to right. It was never right to left. Next. What about the analysis done by Sinha and Ashraf with Roja Muthaiya Library in Chennai? So they did this study, and they found that in the script is from right to left. You can see that coefficient, the R value is less than the left value, and like Urdu, Arabic is the same. So this is from right to left. But you can also see similarities between Hindi and then between logographic scripts like Sumerian, Egyptian, So this is something which uh, needs to be studied. Next. Again, they refer to Ashraf and Sinha. They refer to this particular study done by Nisha Yadav et al., the Markov study and analysis, in which they have considered the left terminals and the right terminals. And this again is where they might go wrong, because how do you decide which is a right terminal and left terminal? And in their paper, they said, look, it doesn't matter. But here, the symbol 342, which occurs like almost 10% on the script, if it is determinative, that means it may not be counted. It should not be counted if it's determinative. It doesn't have any sound. Or if it is an anuswara, then it might change all these statistical results. So there is a way of cushioning it, and I'm working on it, and I will produce more results of why this might not be correct. Next. So what is a determinative? Why we are saying it is a determinative? So this was proposed by Sir John Marshall, the person who was responsible for all these excavations almost 100 years back. And he proposed that this particular symbol, which occurs like almost 10% of all the inscriptions, very high frequency, can either be a normal consonant, it can be an inflectional ending, it can come at the end of a sentence, or it can be a determinative, which means it can come at the beginning of a sentence. This was written almost 100 years back. Next. So what is a determinative? I mean, if you see the languages in that era, you have Sumerian, Akkadian, and they used a very well-known concept of determinatives. So you have this a symbol called dingir or an or anu, and maybe from there you have this derivation anuswara, So an was their kings, an, Anunnaki, and the symbol for them was a star. And anything which before that you had this star means that the preceding text would be a divinity. So that's how they mark the determinative. So this used to come in before the sentence, but there were also determinatives which used to come after the sentence, like the key, which was basically denoting a country, key. Similarly, in Indus script, if you apply the same principles, the jar symbol can be determinative, and any text which is after that denotes divinity. So that might also be the same. So you can see the text and how it works, and also in some cases it jumps. It works as anuswara. So this is very important. I mean, if anyone tries to decipher the Indus script in a linear fashion, he will fail because this particular symbol just jumps. One symbol or after two symbols, it's a very peculiar behavior. Without understanding this behavior, the linear fashion of deciphering the script will fail. Next. Again, there are more samples, examples of how a determinative is used in the script. So this particular cylinder seal, you can see there are a lot of faces. This is all part of one cylinder seal, by the way. So on the left, you can see that particular symbol. This is like one of those charts which we have. Yantra, we call it yantras. Yeah. What it denotes, what actually it denotes. And after that, you have a text. And this symbol is not used anywhere with the text. So we can say that it was a determinative. All the thing which preceded, which comes after that is basically a symbol, a script. Then the symbol on the right is very remarkable, extremely remarkable. You see first symbol, which is like a jar with a lid. And then you have an iconography. There's no text here, iconography. And this is, these are all the stories which was written by sage Agastya. Agatya, and he was called Kumbhayoni. And you can see this is a symbol. It's a kumbha. Kumbha is a jar, and this is Kumbhayoni. So maybe it's a Kumbhayoni. It's written by that particular sage. And the one on the left denotes that it's a book. So maybe it is description of a book, and these are the stories in a book. So this is a way of identifying that these are certain determinatives in Indus script, and they were aware of the concept of determinatives. Next, please. So the next assumption from Yajnadevan is that it's a syllabic script, or rather, he requires a syllabic script in order to decipher it because his method does not work with logographic script. So that's why he has given all these different reasons of why it can be syllabic, why it has to be syllabic. But there has to be a proper mathematical paper or mathematical derivation of why it is syllabic, or why it's not syllabic. Like the one I showed you from Andreas Fuls. He has done the study and he said it's logographic. So he has given this description and some, unicity distance. Again, it keeps on coming. So he says a Rosetta Stone would make a logographic decipherment credible since it would double the information content read and go beyond the unicity distance. So maybe he's not denying it completely, but I'm still not clear whether how he has arrived that it is syllabic, right? So this is something which needs to be seen. If he has an assumption, that's fine. That he's making an assumption. But if he's saying that this if it's logographic and I'm denying it, then he has to come with more proof of why he's denying it. Next, please. See this particular study. We need study like this to prove that it is logographic or syllabic. This is again one of those statistical studies, and they match the pattern with other scripts to understand the nature of that script. Next. Then again, his assumption was he has to pick a language because this particular method may not work with multiple languages. It has to be one language. It gets very difficult if it's multiple languages. But we know for almost a surety, that the Dravidian languages had a movement, and we know where it moved from. There are various studies. And to this day, there are Dravidian words in the local languages around the Indus Valley sites, in Sindhi, in Baloch. And then you have the whole Elamo Dravidian isolate, the Brahui people out there. So how come there's Dravidian people still there and we don't have any Dravidian languages in Indus script? Next, please. So my friend Sheikh Javed Ali Sindhi, he's done a pretty good job. He's at Mohenjo-daro. Daily he sees the site. He's a man on the ground and a dear friend of mine. He has found out that there are a lot of Dravidian words in Sindhi. You can see that. Tons. It's not like one or two, many. So how these Dravidian words came into the languages which are in the current Indus Valley area? It came later on, it came before. This is the kind of study which we need to do. It looks like it was there, it was always there. It was a multilingual culture. Because, to make a language, it takes years, around 4,000 years. For a dialect, it's around 2,000 years. So it doesn't happen overnight. And it's a vast area in which you can find Dravidian words in a lot of languages. So to say that it was only Sanskrit is slightly, I would say, it's a very bold assumption. Next. This is again one of Suresh has done this study about the movement of the people, cattle. Dravidian people, how they dispersed. So you can see that they came from IVC. Yeah. So you can make an assumption that if these people who spoke Dravidian languages maybe Dravidian was spoken in that area. And also they are Dravidian isolates in that area. So that also proves that Dravidian was spoken. If not fully, maybe in parts, maybe in certain zones, but it definitely had a presence in IVC. Next. And this always, so now Brahui is not exactly the same as Peninsular Dravidian. Here you need to go and study David McAlpin's paper about the Proto-Zagrosian model. Some people criticize it, but he has recently written it as, I think, 2-3 years back, updated. So I think you can read his paper, David McAlpin, and he has given his hypothesis of the Dravidian model. It's called Proto-Zagrosian model, in which Brahui is part of Elamo Dravidian family, and the other families here are Peninsular Dravidian, and also then there are some others like you can see there on the one in the orange. Next, please. So then his next assumption is, basically these are the set of assumptions he required to solve a cipher. He needs to know the language. You cannot decipher without knowing the language. Then he has to determine the cipher, and then all other assumptions he has done here. Next, please. So these are the limitations of cryptanalysis method. You cannot decipher logographic symbols or languages, right? Which has very complex words, and so it's very difficult with this particular method. You can do an adjunct by repetitive. He has told me one time how he does the adjunct. You can do an adjunct, but not a logographic symbol. The language has to be syllabic, so it has to be syllabic. That's why he was giving all this arguments about it being syllabic. The language has to be known. I mean, obvious, of course, it has to be known. But it was not known. If it was known, then we would have deciphered it like 100 years back. So the language is not known. He's just making an assumption based on certain peripheral circumstantial evidence that it is Sanskrit. Okay, fine, it's an assumption, then he will test the assumption, and then fine, we will get the Sanskrit. Okay, fine, that's fine. But it was not known. He is making an assumption. And then the third one is if it's a multilingual language, and specifically if he's using a Monier-Williams dictionary, which is a Paninian Sanskrit dictionary with very few Dravidian words. What if there are some new Dravidian words? What if there are words from some other language? So this dictionary will not be able to decipher it. So the reliability of that particular method in this particular instance is based on a lot of assumptions, and all those assumptions are basically unfalsifiable. And based on those assumptions, we are now moving to a realm of falsifiability, which to me is a philosophical question rather than a mathematical question. Next. Okay, this is interesting now, the first sign. So he says before moving into his method, he has to have some assumption. He has to feed into his program a particular sign and a sound value for that particular sign. And he has selected this H764B seal, which we saw it in the Sproat and Farmer and Witzel's paper, in which they rejected in the script. So that's the same seal he picked up. And then he said that this from the dictionary, there's a match, Ananana. So he's saying this is basically symbol 342, it's Ananana, but actually it is not. It is not symbol 342. So this is something which is copied incorrectly. Next. So this is the sign H764B. As you can see, this is a rimless jar. It's not a jar with a rim. So this particular seal has two sides, A and B. So you can see this the B is on the back, and then the front you have this particular one. So the symbol 342 is actually on 764A. You can see that here with the rims. And the one he is saying Ananana is actually not that symbol, it's some other symbol. And you can see here, right? So he has copied it incorrectly. So graphically is incorrect. The basic sign, the first assumption itself is incorrect. What if the value of this symbol is not na, it is something else? What if it means 3 jars? Or it's like a rebus system, traya or yatra, you know, three is tra, and maybe this means ya, so it's traya, like a rebus system which some of the people use. So there's a lot of assumptions going on here, but the basic thing here is he has not copied it properly, right? It's not symbol 342, which is saying it is. So that's a big one for me. I don't know how after that how he proceeded and how he put the values and how he got his values. I have no idea. Okay, next. All right. Now, after this, he goes on with his regex, regular expression, and then he matches all this with his Monier-Williams dictionary, and he gets some results, and in between he has a lot of assumptions. Fine. All that is his method. I cannot comment on his method because I'm not a software engineer in that particular field or cryptographic field. So somebody in that particular field has to see his method. His paper has to be peer reviewed, and I do not have that aptitude to do that. Yeah, it's a confession. I do not. So I can only comment on the results. I cannot comment. It's opaque to me. His regular expression, what he has done inside it, how he has parsed it, whether, I mean, he has described it in his paper, but we have to run it and see it how it does. So we have to run all of his symbol by symbol and see whether they are consistent, and that kind of peer review process has to be done. So that particular one is opaque to me. So I can only comment now on his result. So let's see his results. So one of his results, this is the Dholavira Signboard. Now what happened here in Dholavira Signboard is you can see the image, and that gray image of the Dholavira Signboard. It's quite big. It was a big board on one of the doors of Dholavira. It's like it's 30 centimeter by, like, it's almost 2 meters, I think, something like that. It's quite big. And it was in some material which was like a chalk gypsum. You can see that white thing. And it had a wooden frame around it. So some of these symbols were not legible here, right? Some of the symbols were not legible. Now, this is exactly where the Markov model comes in handy. It can predict that if some symbols are not legible, then what those symbols could be based on the similar occurrences, right? And apart from Markov model, people like me or Srini sir who are into this script can tell you by our experience that we have found certain similar expressions, and those are these expressions you can see on the image on the right. So the one which I have circled on the left is Yajnadevan's reconstruction, and the one on the right is the actual reconstruction. So he has used two symbols incorrectly in the Dholavira signboard, which is not the actual construction. You can see the actual construction on the right. And this actual construction is based on logic, based on similar sequence. He might say that it might change all right. Because of his results, it might be different. He might say that, but most of the experts believe, and at least in the Dholavira Museum, where you have the photograph of that, also believes that this is the correct representation and not the one which Yajnadevan is using. So what it does is it changes the sound value slightly of his decipherment. So if you go to the previous slide, so he's saying this decipherment from right to left is a raka, vara raka, ararasa. This thing is some kind of gem. Arara is basically a door, and S is some kind of declension. So you got ararasa, which is a door. and vararaka. So what happens here is that sign will be ga, not ka, and the symbol will be a. So it will be an introduction of a new sound here. But again, he might say that the beginning and the end is the same. Might be, if I put it back in my script, it might return some other value. I might correct it. But here is the point. The point is anything you put in that script returns magically a meaningful sentence. In this instance, it was an incorrect reconstruction, which still produced a meaningful decipherment. So this then goes into the realm of whether the information which has been provided or deciphered is reliable or not. How much reliable is this decipherment? This is one of the indications, and maybe he can come back and say, no, that this is fine, this can be done like that and all that. But this is what I found. This is my observation. This is my humble observation. Next. Next, please. Okay, allographs. Now, so what he's done in the results, he has clubbed, like you can see here, all these symbols in the first, between the two lines is a. You can count, maybe it's like more than 10. So these are all and it doesn't have any other sound value. They're all the symbols. Next. You can see here, year, for example. Now this is all the man series, the bearer series, and without any respect to the different words or adjuncts, he has just clubbed them together as year. And now he says that he has not done it. His method has done it, right? So he always goes back and says, no, I'm not done it. I'm deriving it from whatever the machine is telling me. Fine, but I'm analyzing what the script actually from a language point of view tells us, right? So it's very unlikely that all of them have the same sound, and I will tell you why. Next. So if you see this particular series he has, year, right? So all these symbols he's saying is year, right? And they're allographs, right? But what about adjuncts? So you can clearly see the ones which I've highlighted in red. It is a mixture of two symbols. You can see the distinct symbol, the man symbol, and that the serrated kind of symbol. And then on the left, you have this 342 sign, jar sign, clearly visible. So it's some kind of an adjunct. It's a mixture of 2 or 3 symbols. So how can this be only one sound? He says, oh, I'm not doing it. The machine is telling me. Okay, well, next. Okay, this is the crux of the whole situation. Now this particular seal from Kalimbangan is very, very artistic one, and you can see that on the left you can see a human figure standing with something on the hand. It looks like that. But if you see carefully, it is made up of different Indus symbols. You can see the fish symbol, you can see the bearer symbol, you can see the jar sign, you can see that sign you use in the field. Yeah. So this symbol, if you break it down, it is made up of around 7 symbols. And you can see Irawat and Madhavan, and I think some other experts have already broken it down into different symbols. Now the question is in which sequence the symbols will come, and that is a different question. Nevertheless, this particular symbol is made up of 7 symbols. And that is the problem with this particular method, that here, first of all, the first one you will say is year. And maybe if you accept that, graphically you have interpreted it, and then now you're using it, it might have some other values. But what is happening here is, instead of a sound, for example, in my decipherment, I will say it is Skandanam Shivabhya, which is quite a big word. But he's saying it's like Yamanava or something like 2 or 3 words, right? So what is happening here is there's a loss of information. With a logographic script, is conveying you a very rich set of information. And by this method, what I feel is my feeling, and I'm saying based on this particular observations, that there is a truncation, there is a clubbing of 15 or more symbols, and there's a truncation of the sound values, and that's why there's a loss of information. So, although he might map it to the dictionary and he might have a meaningful word for each of them, but I think it's not reliable, and there is a loss of information here. Next. Then he has mapped it to Brahmi script. Exactly, some of the symbols are repeated. So the Brahmi actually was Aleph or the bull. Never looked like actually. Nevertheless, he said maybe the Ka, because of the Ka, it looked like that. The Ka, which is saying like an X sign, is actually there is a X sign also in Brahmi, and the sound value for that is Ra. So it's not exactly as Brahmi, but nevertheless, it's a very good sign. And I have my own symbols, and some of the symbols are also matching with Brahmi, but not exactly in this direction. I will produce my table someday, not now. But it's a very beautiful table, I must say that. Impressive. Next.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, here. So do
Yeah.
you also agree that there is a correlation between Brahmi script and the Indus script? I mean, the logographs.
Yeah, there is, but not direct. There is also Brahmi was also developed by some other external influences like the Phoenician script, etc. And there has been studies of the similarities of symbols between Brahmi and Phoenician. But that's what I'm coming next to. The difference between Brahmi and Phoenician script, for example, is the next slide.
Okay.
And this is exactly the difference. In the Phoenician scripts, you will not see these kind of diacritics, right? They are using the same phenomena or same kind of method which Yajnadevan is using, like a vowel kind of thing. Like in English, you have A, N and A becomes Na, N and I becomes Ni, right?
Right.
But in Brahmi, it doesn't happen like that. They have this small
Diacritic.
squiggly diacritics, right? Which changes the word of a. So where are these diacritics? These diacritics have to come to Brahmi by their knowledge that something like this existed. And if you say that it is derived from IVC, then in IVC you need to have diacritics.
Correct.
So where are the diacritics? Where are the diacritics? That's my question.
So,
next slide.
do you
Yes.
think you might have put all the diacritics into the allographs?
It's highly possible. It's highly possible, but he has not identified them specifically. He said that, for example, there's and this is na, and together they will become na. But it's not attached to that particular symbol. It is attached separately, right? Or maybe he might come up and say, yeah, maybe I have found some diacritics. But the way his system is working like a English kind of system in which you have a consonant, vowel, consonant, CVC
Right.
kind of structure,
Right.
not a diacritic kind of structure, right?
Right.
And I'll show you in a minute of where the possible diacritics and possible adjuncts can be. The next slide.
Okay.
Okay, in this slide, I have done some analysis of the Indus script, and I've identified that this might be the possible diacritics, like the ones in the red. You can see the small squiggly marks. So, for example, number 25, 225 is the same as 226, except for that small diacritic.
Correct. Yes.
Similarly, 222, you can see a small dash there. Then there are some modifiers like the hat sign on the top and this bracket on top of the symbol, like 234. So that's a modifier. You cannot say that this whole thing is one symbol because this particular modifier appears in different symbols.
Right.
Then you go in 263, you can see again that in that particular symbol, it has this one. So that is a diacritic. The ones in the blue is an adjunct. Now, why I'm saying an adjunct? Because if you see that 220, that symbol is gone inside that symbol, 251. The same symbol is gone inside it. So that is a combination of two symbols. That's an adjunct. Similarly, 235 is a combination of 233 and the barley symbol, Similarly, 265 266, 266. These are all combinations of two or more symbols. So these are
Okay.
adjunct,
Okay.
right? So these are my analysis of these are possible diacritics and possible adjuncts based on the visual analysis of the script, and also I have deciphered and some of them, and I have proved why this is so, right? But in his system, he says no, these are all have one sound value, and they have one sound value, and they have, he has identified vowels, and he has identified, but the way he's using the vowels is not like in a diacritic kind of fashion. It's more like a Roman English kind of fashion. I may be incorrect by his assumption. He might come and clarify it, but looks like it's not the case. I find this is a major issue with me on this particular nuances which he has missed.
I agree
Next.
with you. I mean, sorry to interrupt you. I agree with you because,
Yeah.
like,
Go
if
ahead.
you, yeah, like I too had the same thought. Like, if it is a precursor to Brahmi script, and Brahmi script has diacritics, and how come no diacritic at all in the whole script, and everything is just a allograph or like the same thing in just a I mean, like little fumble by the scribe here and there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So, this in terms of the theory of falsifiability, this is called a black swan event. And
Okay.
in order to falsify any particular decipherment, when you're using such strict standards, one black swan is enough to falsify everything, right?
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
he has some, we have to wait for his rebuttal. Maybe he has some answers to that. But I find
Right.
it, not very convincing at this point. Okay.
Okay.
And I can do a lot of more analysis, a lot in-depth analysis. This is just scratching the surface. I'm telling you.
Right.
Next.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Yeah.
Okay, then he then declared that he has deciphered some 50 long inscriptions, and the proof of his decipherment is he has consistently deciphered this 50 long inscriptions, and nobody in the world has done it so far, and nobody can do it consistently. And I said, okay, hold my beer. Next slide. Okay, there you go. So his decipherment was with all those explanations, and some of the words were deep into the dictionary. So, for example, if there were 10 meanings of a word, his meaning will be the 10th word. It was so deep, right? So, for a normal person, you cannot understand what his decipher means. Can you just go back one second before coming to it? Yeah. So, for example, if you read without the meaning, can anyone of you easily make out what the Shata Darav Amamaha Makham means? Or a
No, I agree with
Tadananam
you.
Rava Amamakhas? Or
I
a
agree.
Kama Makham Kansama Datam Nadan?
Right. I agree with your statement that if it has 10 meanings, the least of the meaning is the one he.
So, if you're saying that this is after, this is a classical Sanskrit and after Rig Veda, then this should be very prevalent. This should be some of the shlokas which everybody would have heard, right?
Correct.
How come we cannot understand, we cannot comprehend what it Dhak Vaha Master Jahasha Varam? I mean, what is this? I mean, can you understand it without a dictionary? Okay.
No.
Now go to the next page. Okay, so I said, okay, fine. Maybe I'm not fully deciphered. Maybe I'm not sufficient. But let's just attempt it. Okay, these are my words, and I bet you will not use a dictionary. So the first one is again, my direction is opposite of his. So I'm using left to right. So the Shivan in his case is Varan. In my case is Shivan. And I've used that jar sign jumps, and there's an Anuswara rule I found out. And I've explained how does it work, how this interaction works is pretty complex. So it can be Shivam or Shivan, right? And that is Anuswara rule. That is okay. So it says Shivam Dwadash Namam Riddhi. Now when I deciphered it, I was quite shocked because you just heard Dwadash Namam Stota, and the words like Riddhi and Shivam, everyone knows. Everyone knows what is Dwadash Namam. Anyone who's a religious person knows, has chanted some kind of Dwadash Namam Stota for some deity, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So I was quite shocked to see this, and and the other thing was this was all Indo-European kind of numerals, not Dravidian numerals, right?
Yeah.
Let's move on. Then the other one is Andanameshwaran Agnaya Rupa एक ekanam adhyaya. No, that's very difficult, right? So I will explain to you why it is like that. Yeah. He's saying there's no syntactic thing to your thing. It's a dialect and all that. Well, we can go into all that, but this is what I'm reading and I'm telling you. The next one is, I have identified the Rupa series, and his Rupa series is Kansan or Kansam. It changes, but my consistently reads Rupa. Wherever there's Rupa, you will find Rupa. Wherever there is Aranyagnam, you will find Aranyagnam. Wherever you have Krud. So you can see here, Krudhayeg Agneshwaran. I mean, this is the epithet of Lord Shiva. He was Krud. He was like Agni. Yeah, he was a god. Krudha Agneshwaram. I mean, this is I cannot make it up for sure, right?
Right, obviously. Yeah.
All right. So this is my testimony.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean,
okay, Shaddanaya is there. You know, Shadananam.
Yes,
talking about Ananam. This Ananam is here, and I will tell you where the Ananam is. It will come. It is actually the face. Okay, next.
Could you point? Okay, I mean, you don't have the cursor. Yeah, Shadan. Okay, we will go through it. Yeah, I mean, like.
It's there. I know you're.
No, I mean to say, like, on the pictogram.
You're a fan of Skanda Kartikeya. I know that. Okay, I will tell you. I can see a profile pic, so that's okay. Next. Okay. Again, so that's the end of my observations with the Yajnadevan's decipherment, and I must congratulate him that he has done a terrific path-breaking job, and he has raised the level of this particular discourse, and I think all the best to him. These are my observations, just some of the observations. So the whole idea is that someone from us have to decipher it, and we'll be very proud if someone from us will be deciphering it. It's a proud moment for all of us. And having said that, I will not stop my way, because we are all looking for a closure. We are looking for a correct decipherment, and we don't want to. It's such a sensitive topic that if you are finding a deity or a particular ritual, you don't want to do something which is incorrect, right? You have to be pretty sure that it's doing again and again, and that's where it also becomes a sort of a very delicate, and you have to revere this particular topic, because it's now going into a realm where you have to be very careful and you don't miss out something, a particular concept, which because of these losses in translation, it should not be done. So you have to cross-check it from 2-3 different directions, and then only arrive at a particular conclusion. So so this is my some of the examples of in those C's how I arrived at it. Each and every symbol I have now written of what it is, and as you can see, it is in a pretty advanced stage. This decipherment is not something like without a dictionary, I can tell you can read all of that. And if you go in detail and spend some time, you will understand what exactly it is and how I have derived it. But how I have derived it and my method is yet I have to publish it and reveal it. I've done it like back in 15th of August 22 actually.
Okay.
So that's my criticism. Yajnadevan says that yours is a brute force method and it will take years to decipher it.
Right.
But actually, I did it in 6 months. From January 2022 to August 2022, I almost did like 70% of that. And what I'm doing now, yes, and what I'm doing now, decipherment, correct.
Okay. Of all the seals.
What I'm doing now is just the refinement, cross-checking. Why I'm not publishing it is because I want to make sure that what I'm doing is 100% correct. And there are some changes because there are some nuances which I miss, and then I change it, right? So I'm waiting for the iteration process to stop. After a certain point, it says, no, it's not going anywhere. It cannot be any more changes. So it's an iterative process. It's a self-correcting iterative process, and with such a big corpus, it takes time. So you cannot rush this kind of process. I'm not in a hurry to prove myself. I want to make it right, get it right, right? So that's why it's taking time. Otherwise, I have found a lot of things about the decipherment. It's quite advanced, you can see here. Next, please. So this is the basic. I will give you one small tip of how to go about it, right? So on one extreme, you have people like Shri Kalyan Ramanji, and I have great respect for him, who's saying it's all graphical, graphical, graphical. And on the other respect is Mr. Yajnadevan, or maybe likes of him, who says it's purely mathematical and it has nothing to do with graphics, right? I'm here somewhere in the middle ground. I'm saying both of you, there has to be a middle ground. It has to have a visual language, graphically, it has to be interpreted. And also, it has to then test, the keys have to be tested mathematically or logically, that there cannot be any other meaning or value to it. So it has to be falsifiable. So that's the trick. I have to get it falsifiable. Right now, it is unfalsifiable because it can be tons of other meanings to it, right?
Right.
So if you see this particular seal, this one is not like a unicorn seal, right? So it has a context, it has a meaning, and it's a very unique seal. It doesn't occur many times, right? And apart from that particular script which you see, the three symbols on the left, it is also repeated in a very drum-shaped wooden. It's not a wooden; it's a tablet. Maybe it's a terracotta tablet, and it has the identical string. And this is a drum-shaped. And anyone who is into our culture immediately knows what that is. Yeah, you know what that is, right?
Yes. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And specifically, it might be a damburu. Like it might not be a long one. It is Lord Shiva's damburu, maybe, right? Possibly. So if you see the seal, you have a man here who's playing a drum, and then there's a lion with the mouth. So and then you have this swastika, reverse swastika, and clockwise and anti-clockwise 5 times. So what is all this telling you? Now, going back to IT Kharagpur's calendar and the cyclicity of time and all that they published here, but what does this script tell you? So the script definitely has something to do with sound, right? That is one logical inference you can make, because you have
Correct.
drum, you have a roaring tiger, right? And even when there is a creation of universe, you have a big bang, and when the universe is destroyed, then also there is a sound.
Correct.
So the sound is related to the creation and destruction of universe, plus all these symbols and the damburu. So that's maybe a logical inference to be made that this has something to do with the sound. Now, you can try the sound words in various languages, the Dravidian languages, in Sanskrit, in any language you want. But then in case of Yajnadevan, he will be trying it from right to left. I will be doing it from left to right. Yeah. So, for example, he said this is dhwani, right? Because the first symbol, which is like the two Bengal Murukan symbol, as Askoparpula says, is dha as per him, and va and ni, dhwani. Fine, dhwani. But then how does dhwani reads with the swastika? What does swastika mean? Right? Can you tell us that? It doesn't, because swastika doesn't come in the script anywhere.
Right.
And he cannot tell what's the sound value for swastika or reverse swastika.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So here, you have to make the assumptions first. So I made some assumptions. He also made some assumptions, and I made the assumptions that the symbol 342 was an, na, and anuswara and all that. And I have given some logical reasons why I believe so. He has also given that, right?
Right.
So let's assume that this symbol is anuswara, right? Now it behaves in two ways. You can, in my way, it can be and or it can be nad. So nad the swaram, nad is basically sound.
Right.
And it is also in Brahmanad. And if you make it and, it becomes Brahmand.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So both ways it is working. Whether it's and or nad, it's both working. So this is a way. And then I think, in different contexts, it behaves as and Andaneshwar, and there must be a deity with that particular name, Andaneshwar. It's found in many places, which we don't know. We have to find it out, right? I will tell you about it. And also, it might mean Nadduswaram. So this is how you then arrive at a particular key. So this is the key, right?
Right.
What it means is that you arrive at an assumption and you say that this might be the particular value for these particular symbols. Then you go and test them in all the occurrences, all the hundreds of occurrences of these particular symbols. So it's not an easy job, right? You have to test it, and then if it fails, you have to start from beginning.
Correct.
So this is what I call a key. I
Right.
found a key
Just
because
like
it's a very small inscription.
Ananana is a key for him. This is a key.
Correct.
Right. Yes.
Absolutely. Next one. Okay, here. So the seals on the left are basically all Zebubull seals, and all of the seals, all the descriptions are related to Lord Shiva. And this particular animal was never sacrificed. The other animal was sacrificed, and I tell you why it was sacrificed. There were some animal sacrifice rituals, but never Zebubull. It was a symbol related to Lord Shiva, and you can see the symbol Ayyan there is also there. And when I found this symbol Ayyan and Ayyan Sri Sivya, I mean, this is not definitely, this is something to do with Tamil culture and Dravidian culture. It's very clear, absolutely clear. This is what I say when it says multilingual. The
Correct.
one in the center is very, very remarkable, right? So this particular symbol, you can see that same symbol, the bangle symbol is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this particular, the man who's standing there with that rectangular thing on his shoulder does not have the two fishes or the buckets in other symbols or the bearer symbol. It doesn't have that there.
Mm.
So, taking clues like this and what it is, and then, I have all the symbols, I have made keys. So, in short, this particular description is basically says Kand Anirudh.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I can go in deeper it, but it is the son of Lord Shiva, Skand Anirudh.
Okay.
All right, and I can explain exactly why this is. And you can see the da symbol is there. The da is there. Because of the da, we have arrived at the da. And it is a hard da. So skand in Sanskrit is a soft da, double D. Skand.
Right.
It's pronounced as
Mm.
skand. But here is a skand, like and, skand. So
Okay.
that's why I said this is the mother of Sanskrit. This language is the mother of all the Indian languages.
Okay.
And skand means oozing sperm, and you know what it is. So skand, and it is a legitimate meaning, and it is so profound. And it is Skand Anirudh. How Lord Kartikeya was born, all the stories about him, you know that, and this is
Right.
what it represents. And this particular creature, the composite creature, is made up of 6 animals. I counted it 6. Sometimes it's repeated. You don't have to count it twice.
Okay.
I have counted it.
We have
There's
a
6
bull,
animals.
we have a bull, elephant,
Correct.
a tiger, maybe,
Yeah. There's a snake as a tail.
a snake. Okay.
Yeah. So I have some graphical analysis of that, and I found there are 6 animals.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is 6. 6. So it's not the Navagujjara, which is found later on. I call this as Shadarupa, or this is basically a Vyal, or Vyal, Gajavyal. There's so many Vyals. This is one of the Vyal.
Okay.
You can find it in all the temples, the Vyal as a protector. This is one of the Vyals.
Okay.
So this is again related to 6 number, and this is Kanda Aniruddha seal. This is a very profound seal, and this was shocking to me that I found name of Lord Shiva, Lord Skanda, Ayyan. I mean, this is this very, very extremely. Sometimes it gets to you. It's very. I have to check it 2-3 times on whether this is correct. And I come to the same conclusion that this is what it means. Next one. Okay. Now here again, so we have some numerals here, right? I mean, we have the Tamilian words. I have words like nir. I have some Prakrit words like kripa or kripa. But here, the numerals are not Dravidian. The numerals are definitely Indo-European. Yeah? So we have Dwadash before. Now this is Shatan. And there is also a nuanced difference between Shat and Shat. So the seal here, you see the two symbols on the left, the kind of a Balya symbol is a hard sh, and the one which is next to it is ta. It's not ta. Whereas the one on the right, the two symbols on the rightmost symbols, they have only three branches in that string, and the ta is connected here, right? So it is shata.
Okay.
Shata is 100 and shata is 6. So this is the kind of nuance I'm talking about. And this is, if you made it all allographs, all that nuances are gone.
Agreed.
All those nuances will go. So you have to be careful about each and every stroke. And this is the prime example. One becomes Shatan Namami Muruga, which is basically the 6 names of the mother of Muruga. And again, there is another way of doing it is Shatan Ananam.
Shatananam. Correct.
So that is Shatananam. That becomes Shatananam later on.
Shatananam Nama Mi Muruga. Shatananam.
Exactly.
Shatana,
It can be done like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the main thing here is it's all syllabic, but when it comes to the Mura symbol, it is logographic. Now you understand why it's logo-syllabic. Because that symbol, then you go into all its occurrences and put it, and then it has to be consistently with the same sound. Right? So this is a prime example of there is a numeral here in as you speak, not like numeral, and it has a logographic, and then it has everything has vowels, it has diacritics, it has all the features of the Indus script, the Brahmi script, and all other Indian scripts, right? Plus, it is telling you the attributes of Lord Muruga, that he was Shadananam,
Right.
which we all know. You know that, and the shield is telling you. So I cannot make it up. Can I make it up? This one, seriously,
No.
right? And similarly, the one on the right is different. It said Shatan Ashtan. So that is 108. Namaswa Shri Shiv Krudevya. So it is saying 108 salutations to Shri Shiva. Now, 108 is a very, very magical number. And you know what is 108? There are so many interpretations of 108. It's a
Right.
very,
I mean, important number
right?
for Indian culture. Yes.
Both the number, the Shata and the Shatan Ashtan are there in this one. And if you miss and make them all or allographs, you will never get this kind of fidelity. You will not get this kind of nuances. Now, it might change, you might substitute it, but I'm giving you a demonstration of how nuanced it is and how profound it is.
I agree.
Okay. Next one.
I mean, we must respect their.
Okay, that's it. So these
their,
are the keys. These are my method of keys, and I keep on unlocking it till it clicks, and finally, hopefully one day we will be able to decipher it like completely. So that's it. I will just take a break to have some water, please.
Please do.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. You just gave me some superb information. Consider me as a student, not an expert. I have some questions on your presentation. Like many questions. Monkey, do you have any questions?
Please. No. Go ahead. Please, go ahead.
Yes, I know. I mean, you can start with. I'll go off.
Yeah. Let me go by slide since if you consider this model, why is there there is no DNA mix after 10,000 BCE. I mean, in this phase, based on Cell magazine published by Vashant Shinde, there
Yeah.
is no DNA mix-up after 10,000 BC between the IVC client and Iranian client. Then how can you explain the presence of Indo-Iranian language within India?
Yeah, fine, fine. That's a very good question. So, after this was done, there is a lot of studies done after that. Reich Laboratories, Hagati et al., and till July 23, there was a lot of studies which came out. So they found that, in order to for a language to go from one place to another, you don't necessarily has to have a genetic change also. That's not necessary, right? So from Anatolia, they did not find any Anatolian genes into the Zagros farmers, but the language was transferred, right? So that's a whole article on it in Hagati paper. You can go and read it. So it's not necessary that the language transfer also means genetic, and it's also vice versa. If there's a gene flow, there may be or may not be a language transfer. So it depends on whether it's female mediated or male mediated. It's a very complex subject. So to understand it is in a binary is not possible. You need to understand the nuances to say what the papers are saying or what was the mechanism of that. But I found an Indo-European language, and Yajnadevan has also found it. So there has to be some kind of study or some kind of assessment of why and how Indo-European languages arrived at IVC as early as 4,500 BC.
Thank you, sir.
I showed my paper
So
first to
you are
one of
proposing
the
that
renowned
IVC is,
linguists.
oh, sorry, continue,
Yeah,
continue.
I showed this paper to one of the renowned linguists, and she just brushed it aside. She said, "What rubbish! I mean, there cannot be. It's not possible to have any Indo-European languages in that era. It's not possible. It's called language X. This is not language X." So those are the kind of resistance I faced in doing this. But nevertheless, I'm this is like what you see is what you get, like WSI, what BCVIC, right? So what I am deciphering, I'm telling you, it's not something which I'm hiding. This is something which you have to then assess, and you need to basically then after that you need to understand what it is. The first step is decipherment. But definitely, we are now beginning to understand a different mechanism of that. It's not the plane that the Aryans came and the Aryan migration happened and then this happened. No, it's more nuanced. There are multiple waves. There was a southern route, there was a northern route. Even the whole pie homeland is shifting. So there are a lot of things happening now in genetics, linguistics, movement of the people. So it's all converging. Finally, it's all converging, I must say.
Yeah, one more question regarding the same. You are proposing that IVC is multi-language culture.
Correct.
Uh, in some of
Absolutely.
the you made a okay. You propose that it is a multi-language culture. Then why there is no Dravidian major language in that area right now?
There is Brahui. Brahui is there, right?
Brahmi is
Uh,
their
it's
DNA is same
isolate.
same as the neighbors. There is no difference between the their. I mean, Brahmi in the Pakistan area and their DNA is exactly same as the rest of the Pakistan. How can we explain the same?
No, so you are confusing between language and genetics again, right?
Yeah,
Just because people of a particular genes is speaking a particular language does not mean that all the people speaking Dravidian has to be from the same genes, right? So that the language and genetics, the correlation is very very delicate. You cannot say so. Brahmi language is definitely Dravidian. There is no question about it. Now, which Dravidian? That is something which you have to read the paper of David McAlpin of different Dravidian. He has done a detailed study on the different Dravidian languages and their progression. So Dravidian was there, and you find the Dravidian words in the local languages. Where those words came from? Where does the retroflex sounds came into Sanskrit or other languages? What is the origin of the retroflex sounds? The Avesta, all other Iranian languages are not heavily retroflexed, nor are the European languages. So, what is the origin of retroflex sounds? Where it came from? These are the questions which needs to be looked into.
Okay, let's consider they both speak Pi language, some proto language, and also proto Dravidian language or multicultural language. Then how can you explain the missing words for something like lapis lazuli in Dravidian? Well, I want to take the
Oh,
yeah.
so I have no idea. That's a very good question. I have no idea about that. There is no word for lapis lazuli in Dravidian. So what is it called?
It is in Sanskrit. Some I don't remember the exact name, but there is no native words for many of the. Yeah, I do agree that Uru, city, town, there are names taken from the Dravidian language, but there is also
Yeah.
some language, some important things that IVC possess, but they don't have the native words for the same. For example, if you, I think I read it somewhere, but they are missing in the Dravidian
Yeah,
languages.
fine. You can pick up a particular one, and then we need to understand and analyze why it is so, right? It's a very valid question. But can you say for sure that there was no Dravidian presence in IVC?
Yeah, actually, I just got the presentation, so I didn't come prepared. Maybe I can provide you in the offline.
Yeah, so this is a sorry, I'm just asking you again. It's a reverse question. So I'm saying with all this
Lapis
evidence, with
lazuli is
the
one thing, and the another thing is a unicorn. If I remember exactly,
unicorn
the
was
unicorn.
Valya, Ekavalyam. Shringa, they call it Shringa in Sanskrit,
Sanskrit.
but as per my decipherment, it's called Ekavalyam.
Ekavalyam. You are proposing Ekavalyam, but I never heard that one
Correct.
name. Also,
You
it
will never hear
also
it
repeated
because
something like Sanskrit only.
yes, Eka is Sanskrit, that's why. But Valyam has many notations. Valyam, do you have Valyam like word in Dravidian?
I don't remember. No, I'm not a expert. I'm just a student. They consider me as a
Yeah.
student. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So this particular, see, if you see, the date was called Sindhu. That's correct, right? Sindhi, different language. In Malayalam, it's still called Indapazam, right? So the language, the name of the country itself, India, Indus, Sindhu, came from the Dravidian language. Hind. I have a seal which says Hand Avasam. So it was called Hind actually in that particular region. I have a seal which says Hand, and it is derived from Dravidian for sure. So the date palm was called
Yeah,
was
not
derived
necessarily
from a
only this
Dravidian
one. There
language.
are something else like Uru, Pattanam.
Mhm.
Those are the Dravidian root words in Sanskrit. I do know that.
Yeah, so there are loan words in Sanskrit from Dravidian and vice versa. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the whole thing. But then, if you go to the next slide, more, I think it was before maybe, or the next, yeah, this one here. Okay, how do you explain this?
Yeah, I got a question also. How can you relate the language with the cattle?
Okay, so this you know that they were farmers and they had cattle and herds. So
Yeah, I know the
they
but
are
they even moved
correct.
to
So
they migrate to even
correct,
Mesopotamia. This
correct,
is I think this is about specifically about Jebu cattle.
correct,
Yeah.
right?
So how can you relate
So
the language migration or some to
no, you cannot
cattle?
relate it directly, but you can say that this also explains that there was a migration for sure, right? They might be, there are some tribes nowadays, they just take the cattle and go out and they come back, right? But when you take the cattle, you go and do not come back and settle down on the land, then it's called a migration, right?
I do agree on the migration, but I don't think that this is a possible
So
explanation
maybe
as
there were
well.
Dravidian languages only in South India, and the people came from Indo-European languages and they learned Dravidian. That's one possibility, right?
No, actually,
Uh,
if that is the possible, if that is the case, then we should find abundant of words in present Pailang. I mean, present Sanskrit or South Indian, North Indian languages. But there are only very few, not many.
No, so I'm not deciphering the North Indian languages. I'm deciphering Indus Valley. If I find Indus Valley has more Dravidian words and the North Indian doesn't have, it means something else.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me
that's a
go
different
back to
inference.
the presentations. Okay, this okay. Yeah, this I mean on this paper I have a question. I'm not sure whether I should ask
Yeah.
you or not. They didn't decipher it, but how can they know the mean word length because there is no word separator in the IBC script. We know the further sure. Then how can they know mean word length?
That's correct. That's a very good one. For that, you have to read the whole article, right? So it's basically a statistical article, and you have to read the whole thing,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
they have arrived at it. So this is Andreas Fuls article. Basically, we have to go and read it, and then if you want to have a peer review, you can publish it. It's open to public. It's open for peer review, right? So was it published? Was it discarded or what is accepted? What is the outcome of that paper? So that's the thing in the scientific sphere and the peer review process, that they have this fidelity in which people can access it and criticize it. And
Yeah,
I think ultimately,
I'm not an expert, so
whether my work,
I'm not an expert, so
no,
I'm
whether
not
it's my
criticizing. I'm
work,
asking my questions only. So
no, that's
in this
fine. Very
paper, I
good, very
have two
valid
questions.
question. Yeah.
In the same manner, how can if the script is not deciphered, how can they calculate what is verbal and what is consonant? That is not a. I mean, I got the question. That's it. I mean, I didn't. I'm not.
So what they do is they also analyze the similar scripts, right? So they do Sumerian, they do Maya. You see, it's all written here: Proto-Sumerian, Egyptian, and then they compare the patterns between different languages, right?
Recently, there
And
is
that's
a
what,
new paper published which claims Indus script
yeah.
is alphabetical. But I think the author name is Muhammad. I published last month, I guess. Have you gone through that?
No, I'm only aware about the Mahavir Muhammad's work of the Prakrit one, but this one you are saying Muhammad Aid, no, I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of that.
Okay. He published a
I have to
paper
read
claiming
that. So
that,
what he's saying, what exactly he's saying, and that is like alphabetical.
yeah, it is alphabet. Recognition as an alphabet. That is the title in the script.
No,
And the
that
other
is
name
Mahavir
is,
Muhammad. He's saying the alphabet of Sindhu Prakrit. Are you talking to him? That particular one.
author name.
This Mahavir Muhammad is also a dear friend of mine. We are interacting on
Maybe
Twitter,
I will share
and
the paper with you. I have it with me.
it's called Alphabet of Sindhu Prakrit.
This one is the paper. It is published
What's the name of
recently.
the? Is it Mahavir Muhammad? What's the name of the
It is
author?
Muhammad. Let me check the author name full. Once, give me a second. I will check it. It is M.H. Muhammad. He published in the last
Mahavir
month.
Muhammad. Mahavir
M.H.
Muhammad. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Mahavir H. Muhammad. Yes, same.
Yeah. He's published a book. He has done a lot of work, and he calls it the Alphabet of Sindhu Prakrit. So the interesting thing about his decipherment is his direction is the same as mine, which is left to right. But in he's going into a different way. His is very falsifiable. So we need to see whether his method is unfalsifiable or falsifiable, or how good it is. But it's a very good, very impressive work he has done, Mahavir. I think
Nashi sir,
last year he published, not year. Yeah.
Nashi sir, when you say left to right, I mean, you mean to say on the seal or on the ceiling?
On the ceiling, left to right.
Like this, like you read this sentence.
Right. On the seal or on the ceiling?
On the ceiling.
On the
On the ceiling. So this is an impression. Here I'm reading it left to right. So this is Shivanam Diveshwara Shivya. I will read it also what it is. Shivanam Diveshwara Shivya.
okay.
If you go to the next slide, this is the seal, right? So here you have to go right to left. In the seal, you have to read right to left.
Okay, right.
So if you go on the back one, can you go just one back? So here, Yajnadevan, for example, is reading it from right to left. So that's why he has these three last words as Varan. You can see that Va and that Balya symbol he says Ra and this Ana symbol, so Varan. So you can see that he's reading from right to left.
Yeah.
Mine
Regarding the
is
right to
about Lord
left or
Shiva.
left to right, how can we determine?
Then
Because can you give some more?
just go from the. So that's what I've done. I've given a whole, if you go through my timeline, I have done a detailed analysis based on the graphical, how the scribes would have written. Correct. But then what he's also pointing out to Yajnadevan is this paper from Ashraf and Sinha, and that is a mathematical paper, and so in that they are getting it right to left, right? So I need to understand why I have to read it again. I've read it like briefly, but the main reason might be the symbol 342, because 342 behaves in a very different way. And if you just read it as a linear and the occurrence of that is the first, then I think it will make a huge difference.
I mean, can you specifically say?
The jar symbol, the jar symbol behaves in a very different way.
Symbol.
Correct. So if you go to the direction of writing by Sinha and that's in the first, just before that.
Yeah.
No, I think it's no. Much after.
Give me slide number.
Yeah. One sec. So it's slide 40, yeah?
Yeah.
40 and 41. Yeah. Okay, now here you see this particular, Ashraf and Sinha, I mean, they are connected with Raja Muthaiya Research Library and in Chennai. And they have, they are research people, but they are using this particular analysis from Nisha Yadav, the Markov analysis. And you see here this particular, which I've highlighted, 342, you see that line? It is the most occurring symbol in the script, almost 10% of all the inscriptions.
Yes.
Now, if it is a determinative, then you have to remove the whole line. Or if behaves as an anuswara and goes to the third one, and in some it doesn't sound at all, then the whole frequency changes. So then maybe it might not. Maybe I don't understand this process. They say irrespective of that, it doesn't change. Maybe it's that particular situation. I don't know. But this is a scientific document which says that the script is from right to left, and this is this you have to then you have to peer review it, and then you have to reject it scientifically using the same method which they have used, which certainly I'm not capable of. So somebody has to do that. So I'm getting my indication from a lot of other ways areas, and the best one is the one which has preceded, the one which is there, the hard fact, the hard evidence, and the fact that it's making sense from. That argument anybody can give. That's really not.
Let me
supportive
go
argument.
back once.
Yeah.
You mentioned some cryptography subject. Yeah. Here you said a language has to be known, cannot decipher unknown language. But in the case of a Zodiac 340 or linear B, copial cipher, they don't know the language because it is
no, the Efron.
They
Efron
assume
knew
the
the
language before starting the cryptography, isn't it? They don't know.
No, they
No,
don't
the
know.
Ventris. Ventris deciphered the as Greek, and Efron then went and confirmed that it is Greek. So he knew
Yes,
it was Greek.
they confirm
What
that
about
they
linear A?
corrected
Why
in
they not
one
able
symbol
to decipher
in the
linear A
linear
then?
B.
What about linear A?
No. What I mean, for example, if you take the zodiac 340 sign or I mean that cryptography or
Yeah.
copious cipher,
Yeah.
for example, take that one.
Correct.
We don't even know the language of the cipher before starting the decipherment.
No, you're not understanding. See, if there is a cipher in Japanese and you don't know the language, but you can decipher it and then you know that it's Japanese. But Japanese is a known language.
Yes, Sanskrit
You
is also
understand?
known language.
No. But Indus script is not known.
Okay.
He's assuming that it is Sanskrit. Nobody knows what is the language of Indus script.
Yes, I do agree that he assumed some Sanskrit.
Of
He
course, we have
gave
to
me
assume it,
multiple
and
dictionary.
that
He
okay,
confirmed it with
that's a valid argument that you say I assume something and then I go ahead and prove it. That's a different thing.
uh, one more thing regarding this very first thing. This one, not this one. Yeah, variety system. You mentioned here syllabic
Yeah,
scripts started around 2400 BC in Mesopotamia,
correct,
but some of the seals are from earlier than this age, than this date in the IBC itself.
correct, correct. Absolutely, absolutely.
So
So even if you see the Phoenician script, which was a proper Abugida, the first one Abugida script, it started in one of the caves in Sinai Peninsula when all the miners were writing something on the cave. They wanted a simpler language. So the invention of syllabic script from the Semitic languages is 1800 BCE, and Brahmi is heavily influenced by Phoenician language, right? So before that, cuneiform started having from logographic and pictograms. They started getting into syllabary. So that process started around 2400 BC. So that is why I'm saying Indus script was in a transitional period there. So that there's no way you can have a fully syllabic script. Maybe in the script also started
no.
syllabary
I
because
think you
they
got
have
my
post.
question wrong here. Actually, what I
Yeah,
want to ask is, uh,
yeah,
if you say that it is in 2400 BC they started syllabus scale, then it
yes,
the previous syllabus, previous IVC seals must have must be logo-syllabic. Have you found
correct.
any evidence that before initial seals are logo-syllabic?
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is.
they
I
must
mean,
start with the logo anyway.
my whole thing is it is logosyllabic, and my method is logosyllabic.
You are assuming entire
Ju-
IVC is totally logo-syllabic, not the letter series, because you have shown some letter series which doesn't have any iconography.
Correct. That is in the towards the end,
Yeah. So
like
what I'm
1900
asking is,
BC and all.
have you found any seals
Yeah.
in initial which doesn't have any icons? I mean, I'm not specific.
Yes. It started. It started without icon also. Like the first seal which I showed in the pottery mark with three branches.
Yeah,
That
that
was
doesn't
the
have any
first.
icons.
No, it doesn't have any icons.
That means
So
it's not a logo-syllabic.
no. Icon doesn't mean. See, with or without icon, a script can be logosyllabic. It's only the script. We are not talking about the icons, right? So when you read a script, the symbols itself either can be syllabic or logosyllabic. It's nothing to do with the icons. The icons add more meaning to it. It adds direction. It adds some context. In some cases, a meaning. But like for unicorn, there are so many unicorn seals. So what does a unicorn seal mean? But you do have a script. So the script has different qualities. You can have totally logographic or totally syllabic or logosyllabic. The three types more. Yajnadevan is saying that in 2600 to 1900 BCE, which is the integration era, you have the full-on syllabic script with classical Paninian Sanskrit. That's what he's saying. I'm not saying that.
Okay. Let's move on to some other questions. Yeah, here is my question.
Yep.
1478. It does have icons on both sides, not one side.
Correct, correct. This, if you see this is a cylindrical, twisted kind of tablet or a seal, whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
You can see in the below that.
Is it cylindrical?
Yeah, yeah, you can see below that,
No, I don't think
M478C.
so. Because no, it's not a cylindrical. Because we got two
No, no,
impressions, right?
no, it's twisted.
B,
It's
A
not
and B.
exactly
They both
cylindrical.
are not same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a twisted one. It's not cylindrical. It's
No,
like it's not flat.
cylindrical has to be same. I mean, if
No,
we
no, you don't understand. There are some twisted seeds, right? It is twisted, and so you can see that M478C and M478E. You can see how it is twisted. You understand?
no, I don't
But it is part
understand.
of the same seed. It is part of the same seed. The seal number is 478 from Mohenjo-daro.
Yeah, I know.
And
I have.
A, B, C, D, E are different faces of it.
I don't understand this seal because if it is a cylindrical seal, we have to get same impression. But we are getting two
No,
impressions here.
I'm not saying it's exactly so. Okay, maybe I use the wrong word. It's not cylindrical.
Yeah.
It's like a twisted seal. I can show you some examples of how they do the twisted ones.
So Haindavudu, basically on this seal, there is one line here, and there is another one of the second picture. So when you press it like in a straight line, you will get these two seals next to each other, like one on the.
No, they are physical things. So how can they change the impressions? That's my
It does.
question.
It
I'm
does
sorry
because
if my question is very stupid.
It's behind it. It's behind it. So the
Behind
larger
it.
ones, yes, the larger ones is behind it.
No, I may be wrong, or I just don't understand it properly. Okay.
No, it's like a Ludo dice.
Yeah.
It's like a Ludo dice. You have one on one side and 6 on the other side. When you press it on,
Cylindrical means it's in round.
no, Ludo. I mean, dice also is kind of cylindrical only, but square is a cube.
Yeah.
Cube is also cylinder.
Right. But your question is valid. To understand it, you need to see it physically, like maybe a video of it. So that is the problem here now. The documentation of these Cs at this age are like very low resolution. You can see these images, very low resolution. I think we should have some high resolution images, some videos, so people can better understand graphically how these are.
No, let's check this
So
179 for example. The
yeah,
179B is the seal. How it looks like. If we impress it on a plain paper, we get 179A.
yeah.
Isn't it?
170. If you impress 179 capital A on a paper, you will get 179 small a.
179 small a. But there is no small a. There is no small a here.
Yeah, because it's not shown here. The impression is not shown because that is can you read the title of that page?
Tablets in bas relief.
Tablets in bas relief. So that is a direct inscription, okay, on the tablet.
179. Okay, this is two sides. Okay, let's. Yeah, I got a question regarding this. If we have to consider this as a logo-syllabic, you mentioned this one, same one, 182B. Am I correct?
Correct.
So how can you explain 5 swastik symbols here? It has to be only one.
Okay, right. So now, this particular one goes into unfalsifiable assumptions, and I can give you some philosophical input like IIT Kharagpur calendar has given that the clockwise swastika is creation and anti-clockwise is the destruction, cyclic, right? So you can call maybe the creator is Brahma and destroyer is Shiva. So it's like Brahma Om, Brahmanad, Brahmand. Again, Brahma Om, Brahmand or Brahmanad. You understand what I said?
No. Maybe it takes some time to process it.
This is okay, yeah. So this is cyclic time and this swastika represents cyclic time as per the second slide of that IIT Kharagpur calendar. You go and read that calendar of year 2022. It has explained in detail what is the cyclic time and all, and it is elsewhere you can find it also. So this is a cycle of creation and a cycle of destruction. So like this, there were 5 epochs. So we have 5 universes or epochs which was created and destroyed. That is what this seal is telling.
So it's not the meaning. It shouldn't mean a Brahmanda. How come you can't? I mean, you said if it is a swastika symbol, it can be Brahma, but there are 5
Correct.
symbols there.
Yes.
That's
One is
what I
destruction, which is Om, which is Shiva, maybe. So you can assign anything on that.
swastikas, they are cycling, and they are
I'm
not.
just assigning it randomly, and this is why it is called unfalsifiable. And these symbols are in the realm of falsifiable, unfalsifiable, because you do not have a context in the script in which it came. If these symbols came in a script in any other context, we could have read it. But there are very few occurrences of swastika symbol with a script. This is one of them. So it is impossible. That's why I'm saying if anyone says that he has deciphered the script 100%, he cannot, because this is just one occurrence of that particular type.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then there can be philosophical interpretations of that whole seal based on the realization that this script says and or nad. Yeah. And then maybe there are deeper interpretations of this. So it's a very profound seal, I must say. It is a profound seal. You agree with that, right?
Yeah. Next, coming to the another seal you have assumed. I'm sorry, you have considered for your explanations. This is M47 1478A.
Yeah.
But if you see the icons, they are on both sides. One side is tree, and the other one is something like a yantra. Maybe not, may not be yantra. It may be something else. So how can you explain this? I mean, in the logo.
So this is okay. I can explain to you. This is a book. This is called Kavya. The tree is like a book, and the branches are different chapters. So this says how many chapters that book has. Is it a legitimate explanation?
I don't know. I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking for answers.
This is all about a book by Sage Agastya, Kumbhayoni, Agatyar. And the story of splitting of the mango tree is on the right side of Sri Skanda killed the demon Sura Padma, who took the form of mango tree, and he splitted the tree. And from there, the peacock came and a cock came, and his Sivamukha, his brother, is there. So these are the stories of maybe Skanda Purana or maybe IVC, and so these are stories. They're telling stories.
Okay.
Very interesting seals. Very, very interesting.
How can we explain this? There are 2 symbols on the swastika and tree side by side.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. This is logographic, and the other ones are syllabic. And Mr. Yajnadevan was saying these are syllabic. That's exactly the point.
Swastika as a symbol?
I have no idea. I don't think so. I've not seen anywhere.
Yeah, I too don't see this tree or a swastika symbol in his paper.
Yeah.
But you are saying that this is a logographic, and how can you explain this one?
Which one?
This one. This one is on the screen, 482A.
Yeah. So the first 2 symbols, you see that this is swastika, and then there's tree again, right?
It has something like a Brahmanda?
No, I don't think so. No.
So
the text, I can tell you the text.
Different meanings in every tablet.
The text is Yajnadevan, and if you see M482B is also very profound. This is the crocodile, and it has a fish in his, and this symbol is found even in the temple sculptures to this day. Yeah. And you can go and see the corpus of Sri Kalyan Raman, and he has done a wonderful job in documenting it. So this is what Mr. Kalyan Raman says, that this script, you need to see the graphical symbol, you need to understand it. Then only you can, so this is, according to him, all these are inscriptions. He does not differentiate between syllabic and logographic. To him, every inscription means something to him. whereas people have differentiated iconography, logographic, and syllabic. So that's what I'm coming in between. I'm saying no, there is some iconography with interpretations, and there is some script, and there is some logographic script, and there is logo-syllabic. And this is we are trying to understand it. That's the way to understand it. Like the questions which you are asking, exactly the same kind of questions which I ask, and none of them is syllabic.
Yeah, I have one more question on the decipherment you provided. Yeah.
Yep.
Not this one. Here you said the jar symbol is un, but in the next slide you reversed it, or what happened? I don't understand this one. How?
Okay, so this is a characteristic of the jar symbol, right? It jumps like an anuswara. So it goes after the two consonants. So the consonants are basically, or the sounds are ayya, and it goes after that and becomes ayyana.
So if
And
it
this
is
is the
followed by
property.
two consonants, it has to be coming in the end.
Yes. I indicated the arrow, how it goes behind, right? So maybe.
Then what is the explanation here for un, instead of un, it become na? How can you explain this?
So, again, I have given a whole rules of how this interacts, where it interacts as anusara, where it interacts as a determinative, and where it interacts as a plain consonant. Right? So that's what
Then
I'm
which any
saying. This
slide?
particular symbol is so versatile that without understanding of its interaction, you cannot decipher the script. And okay, I can share my screen and I can explain it this particular one to you, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is it fair?
Yeah, sure.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Let me search this particular one. Does it affects the desktop? I mean, my browser, Google Meet.
Yeah, it will. You just need to present the same thing, just like we did in demo. You can select the window or browser tab if it is in the same
Yeah, yeah.
browser.
I think it's not working. I'm trying to search on Twitter, but I can't even type it.
Maybe. I mean, it should not be an issue because you are not presenting anything at all right now.
Okay, all right.
Meanwhile, I will once review your presentation. Actually, if you publish a paper, it would be very good to understand how you deciphered it, so we can come with something
All
in
right.
mind. But you didn't publish a paper till now. You want to correct it.
Correct.
Maybe
Yes.
sir,
This is just an update, an introduction of that. It can be done in some other way. How exactly it is done and all, I think I have to explain in details, and because exactly of the same questions how it's done. But if you follow my timeline, actually all those questions have been answered. I've replied to most of the questions.
Yeah.
or maybe sir, when you're on a comfortable, when you arrived at a comfortable stage, like you can grace us again with the actual decipherment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it will be published for sure. I'm fully committed to that. So it will come. It will come soon. Yeah, it will happen.
Here is another
I
question,
can
sir,
tell you. I
regarding
can
this
tell you when. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, if I found it somewhere. Yeah, here it is a fish sign taken as ma, but here you take this square as ma. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there are different ways of writing ma, right? So if you go back to the Dholavira sign, let me tell you the slide number. Actually, I have given one lesson on of how this is done. Slide 56.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, same side.
Okay. All right. So if you see here below, there is all like a rotated sign for ma, and then the last seal has like a square. You see that?
Yeah,
So these are all ma. This is all symbol of ma. I mean, in Brahmi it is actually ba. But when you go through this particular graphical interpretation, and the pretext, and then so I have exactly given how year becomes the combination of e and and then the symbol gear is always there, and then the ma, both are ma. The square and the rotated one both have the value ma, and then you can substitute that in the occurrences, right? So you can open the occurrences, substitute them, and see whether it is ma or not. This is the process. So this is an allograph. For me, this is an allograph. The fish sign and these signs are an allograph for me.
okay.
Yeah. And I have derived the allograph exactly like this for, by substituting it, by eliminating it. If it doesn't work, then we have to go back and substitute again. So it's like a brute force iterative method. It's not an easy one. There's so many occurrences. I have to substitute it again and again and again, endlessly. Believe me.
Yes, I understood. This is a lot of work. I'm just having some questions. Please don't take me in some other way.
No, 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 sure. It will never be wrong. It will never be like I have substituted an incorrect word. The allograph, there are so many allographs, I can tell you. The allographs of ra, of ka, so sh.
Yeah, I should be going through the all your the timeline
Yeah, it's
only.
a
So
lot. I think this is the first time you're seeing it, and it's a lot to digest. So I think I've just explained to you that I have reached a very sophisticated level. This is not like a elementary level. This kind of decipherment is in a very advanced stage. And it's meaningful. It makes meaningful words. Uh, yeah, and you can,
yeah,
of course,
yeah.
it is falsifiable
I
right
was
now
just
because
introduced
you
to
can,
your concept, so I got so much confused. But it's okay.
yeah,
Maybe we can. I should go through your timeline once. But it's the same,
correct, correct.
similar type of questions. Like here it is an. The jar symbol is an. In the Aranya, there is no an at all. An is
It
in
is there,
the.
is there, is there, there, is there. So if you see here, it jumps. I've put an arrow there.
Yeah,
It
how does it
jumps after
jump?
the R
I
sign,
mean,
Aranya.
is it a global rule or specific to say every symbol?
So there is a particular rule in which this jar sign behaves. Yeah. So it when it denotes a deity, then it becomes anuswara, and it goes after the consonants. In case of it's a divine routine, like a yajna thing, like a nadha dasha. So nadha dasha, in that particular one, it acts as basically a consonant. So I have written it, if you go to this particular symbol in my timeline, there's a whole thread on symbol 342 and how it interacts.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's not something is wrong with my Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is
Let me try
behaving
again.
something different today. I'm not even able to send a
Okay,
message
okay, here,
initially.
here. Okay, fine. All right. It's here, it's here. I can get it now. Fine. So I can now share my screen now. All right. Let me share my screen. Can I share now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me share the entire screen. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah, we can see enter window. And enter your
Can
screen.
you see the Twitter X screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you see here, this whole thread is about basically that particular symbol. Yeah, is
Yes.
the symbol 342, right?
Mhm.
And this is how it was done by Marshall. And this is the frequency of it. You can see it is occurred 1347 times. It
Yes.
is almost 10% of all the inscriptions found. Then this one was basically attempts of what it was. So somebody said it is like a boat, like a snake. Very interesting. Picture of a ship, you know. So hands, Ashwatha tree, all kinds. So these are called unfalsifiable assumptions, which anybody can assume anything, right? That's what was happening before. Okay. Then it is actually found in a very seal here, in which there is a sort of a measure, you know.
Yeah, which was
It shows this jar
jar.
symbol. So it was used to measure something. It's very clear that it's a jar and it's used to measure something. Very interesting. Then there are some people who have, you know, our tech pros, I call them. They did Brahmi and then all kind of. This paper was done by Subhash Kak actually, much before Yajnadevan. And the works of Subhash Kak is quite similar to Yajnadevan in many aspects. I think it's a continuation mostly. Then this one I already discussed. So then I went into Sumerian and to understand how Sumerian behaves. And there are some these books you need to read if you need to understand the interaction of determinative. And this is how the determinative, you know, in Sumerian works. And this determinative is like a asterisk, like a star here, you know, you can find key here. So this is all how it is. So with all that, I come to the conclusion of how, you know, these are the signs we're talking about. So these were the previous signs on the pottery marks, right? These are called pottery mark signs in Indus Valley,
Yes.
very initial. So whether these
Yes.
are syllabic, logographic, what it is. Yeah, that's the question. I'll tell you now. Okay, so this is the conclusion here, right? It acts as a determinative, indicating the succeeding text is a divinity or a divine object or a ritual, right? It can be like Lord Shiva or Kartikeya or Skand. Before that, it will come. So it will denote that after this, there is a divine word. Then it jumps and forms an anuswara or a nasal sound after the first word. And this word can be one composite sign or more than one sign. So the linear reading of the script failed because of this rule. So, you know, and because it comes before the string like the Sumerian Dingit, that's why I say the direction of reading is left to right. Again, these are all my assumptions, and then I will prove you how it works. Right. So, okay, this particular one is very good. This one is very good. Yeah. Okay. So this seal you see, can you see the seal here?
Yeah.
So it says Nadasvam Dasa Shivasva. Okay. Now here, this is acting as a consonant. And what is Nadhasva? Nadhasva means not. It's Rana actually. Nadhasva. In Sanskrit, Nad means not. Nadhasvam Dasa Shivam. Shivasva. So this means that this animal was tied with 10 knots and then it was sacrificed. So this is a ceremony of the 10 knots is a very sacred thing in Indus script. It's dash, not the dash is a sacred 10 knots. So you can see in the the face of this animal, you can see these lines. These are basically 10 knots which are tied, and then this is a sort of this process. He was basically put to rest, and offered to Lord Shiva. This is what it is explaining in this particular one. So you remember this Nadhasva, right? Just remember that.
You mentioned something about the symbol, that's the icon, and this
Okay,
is the E
so
card.
let
What
me
is that?
finish that. Let me finish
Yeah,
one
yeah.
second. Now, can you see this one?
Yes.
So that Nadhava is here also. You see the sequence? Nadhasva. It's here also, but in between there is a word. So it naturally means that this is jumping here.
Okay.
Understand? Logically? Makes sense?
Yes.
This one, as per me, and Yajnadevan says this kind of thing was not there in IVC. This is corporate style. No, it is. You have to break it down. And this might be Ashvaha. It might be Chavaha. So what is saying Ashvaha Nadhasva Dasha? Ashvaha Nadhasva Dasha is saying the same thing, which this seed is saying. So this is how you carefully analyze each and every seal, each and every occurrence, and then find out the rules, the interaction, not like making it all one and raising all the nuances and just steamrolling it. You can't do that. So that's why all the nuances will be lost, all the details will be lost. Now you now have some understanding of how it's happening, the interaction. So this is how you go step by step, and I give you an example, small example, then you will understand. So this is how it interacts. So Shivam, first one, Amman, Skan, Ayyan, Shishna. Understood? This is very
Yeah, a little
clear. I
bit
mean,
confusing, but I need to get to use it because I need to learn something. I am just introduced to it. I need to learn how we should read it.
this is the
I
main
got some
reason why
off-topic question for
linear.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll go back to it now. Want me to close it? Stop sharing. Okay.
So you said something about the Nandi. I mean, something is missing in these cow Jebu carrot seals. What is it? I didn't
Yes.
understand that. Is it the bowl or some is
No.
something in
Yeah. Yeah.
naming
That
concept?
plus it was never shown with the 10 notch. It was never tied. His face was never tied, and also you will not see the cult object.
But we see
The cult
the
object.
bowl, something like bowl with
No, that is a feeder. That's not in this particular one. That one will be in this Bos taurus. That's a different animal, right? Not Bos indicus. This is Bos indicus. It's Zebuful.
okay.
There are two different species of bovine here, right? This is
Is
Bos
it only
indicus.
Shiva or is there any? I mean, Shiva is civil. I mean, Shiva and
Mhm.
Kartikeya. We only see those things only so far. Is there any
Amman,
other
Amman is there.
differences? Aman,
Amman, Agni. These four are
Agni.
there mostly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
wanted to
found
ask. Okay, yeah, continue.
Ammaru kind of goddess which you have in Telugu also is called, I have some indication, but I need some help from understanding the Telugu of that Ammaru kind of notation. So I found a seal which says Ekambr, and I was saying why the one mango is mentioned here. Why? What is the mango to do with it? Then I found that in Tamil Nadu actually there is a temple called Ekambareshwar temple,
Yes.
and there is a tree there, mango tree, which is 3,500 years old.
Okay.
You can look it up. So this is Ekambareshwar. I mean, there are some things which we don't know. We will come to know once we know the script. So if I find something, that doesn't mean maybe my reading is incorrect or maybe it's faulty, but it also means maybe we don't know some concepts. Yeah. So this is an ancient script. This is ancient people. There's not necessarily you know everything about them. So just because I'm saying something and you don't understand doesn't mean that it has to make sense now. You need to understand what it is first. First of all, whether my decipherment is correct or not, that's something which I have still not declared it. So I'm still not declared. So once I do that, then I think you will be able to more get an insight into it. Then you
Yes.
will be saying it's not right or not. But this I'm giving you an example of the work which I've been doing, a brief trailer of that.
Okay.
By the way, this was supposed to be on the method of Yajnadevan and not my method, actually.
Yeah, actually, I mean,
Let me
I
remind you.
wanted to ask some questions. I got some questions. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay, I will go through your timeline and no more questions on your method.
Okay.
Monkey, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Like, I mean, I understand. I too had similar, I mean, problems with Yajnadevan's approach. So, and Nasheed had more, like, I mean, technical way of expressing that. So, yeah, that is where we, I mean, are the same in terms of the thought. And I mean, I loved actually, I mean, your way. I mean, we need to add context to them. Like, I mean, we can't just take everything out of context and say that everything is a
Correct.
syllabic or alphabet. So yeah,
Absolutely. What's the fun then? Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're not stupid people. They don't, I
Correct.
mean, they are like very smart people. They have like, I mean, lot of, I mean, they'll only put important things there. So if you take the
Right.
importance out of it and then make everything is like a text or a novel, some words out of a novel, I mean, that's not, I mean,
Correct.
really, we're not honoring them. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I really love to see your work complete. I mean, if it gets completed maybe in an year or so, or even earlier, like we definitely want to host you again and then see. I mean, we actually go
Sure.
through your decipherment. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
So I have only one question. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
are there any symbols? I mean, any behavior, such behavior, the unsymbol, the symbol or unsymbol, it's moving as, I mean, behaving as a consonant in one place and moving into spaces. Is such any behavior in any other pictograph like Sumerian or like, I mean, how do you come to that conclusion? I mean, you have come to that conclusion based on several decipherments that I understand. But are there any similarity in Phoenician or Sumerian?
No, that particular symbol is found in,
No, that
some
behavior,
of the
the behavior. I'm saying.
behavior. Yes, yes. That behavior, I told you, the determinative behavior is there.
Uh-huh.
And also it behaves as the dinger symbol. It's called
Right.
dinger in Sumerian. Yeah. It
Bingo.
behaves exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
But Indus script was more developed. It was more evolved. The concepts were exactly the same. It behaves as a determinative, and
Mm-hmm.
then also it acts as an anuswara or
Right.
un symbol.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It is. You go. That's why I said read these two books about how Sumerian and Akkadian works. You need to understand. You also have to read a lot. So that's my problem. I have to read a lot also. So I
Right.
have to
Right.
now read books about Akkadian and Sumerian, and then when I reading that, my work for this decipherment is halted because I have to get some knowledge about that.
Right.
And now this, because of this, all unrelated issues, which are basically going into the realm of computational linguistics and statistical and your coding issues, is
Mm-hmm.
completely derail my normal decipherment, and I have to go into this particular realm. you know.
And no,
So
obviously, yeah, obviously, right. I mean, that's again a lot of reading on this side. But
I like to read. It's not no problem in reading, but it gives you perspective. So that's the beauty of this particular subject. You need to read about so many aspects,
right.
from information theory, and now I have to read it, and because I've been keep on bombarding you, know nothing about it. Have you done any cryptogram in your life? Things like that, and then from there, then Sumerian, then genetics, linguistics, and even in CSI, there are so many volumes, right? And so you
Mm-hmm.
have to read a lot. You read a lot, a lot. So this is a very interesting subject, and I have to read ideology. I have to read the South Indian ideology, various other uh, particular targeted area, which I have to read. Tamilian, for example. There was a time when I started loving Tamil. I started reading and learning Tamil. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and but again, it's a very sharp curve for me. So there are a lot of things which goes into deciphering, apart from the particular focused method which you have. So it's a lot. It's a lot, really.
So my next question is like, I mean, you're saying you should be reading from left to right. So how do we explain that cramping thing? And everybody says it should be right to left. And so I mean,
Yeah, I have written about that also in details.
okay, I'll go through that.
So yeah, you go through that of how it is. cramping theory and why it is. So you need to understand how the scribe will inscribe in a particular seal, and these were wet seals, right?
Right.
And they were using a nib to do that. So it should not be fudging. So if it fudges, then so because of fudging, the direction changes. However, they were very small seals. You can use a long nib to do that. It's not an issue. Uh, so so people have written articles about the nib and about the inscriptions and about the type of the material. It's a very detailed subject. People have done PhD in one particular subject. The material, the sources of that, and how do you inscribe it. There's so many things to go into it. So we need to understand how they inscribed it. And if they inscribed it, for example, from left to right, let's say, so were they also writing from left to right on a medium which was not negative, let's say pottery, or let's say a palm leaf? So my question is, if you're writing from left to right on a palm leaf on a paper, and then when you started making a seal, which direction you will write it naturally?
Sorry,
Now there might be two answers for that. Yeah, so that's very interesting. So the nuances in it, you need to understand how they do it. So people just saw the impression and they thought cramping is in a particular direction, but the moment they reverse it, the whole assumption reverses.
Actually, what I think I'll tell you. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, it's all assumptions. So the easiest material somebody can make something out of it is wood. Okay, so they use a hard object and make wood the way they want to write it, and then put it on the mud and then bake it so that when they make an impression of it, they'll get exactly the same. So that is kind of agreeing with your method from left to right only. So
correct.
because nibbling on the wet mud is not reasonable thing to do. Rather, you might have a hard impression, so and then put it on the mud and then bake it, and then when you put the hard seal, you can get the exact impression of what you have put it on there. So you don't need to
So
worry about.
maybe no, but maybe that technique was used later on when you have a very standardized letters, right?
Mhm.
But the in seals where you are fitting it from one direction to another direction, so you are fitting it in that space. That
Mhm.
means you're not measuring. It's not on the wood.
Okay.
Understand? It's directly on the seal. Somebody's directly started writing, and then he suddenly found out there's lack of space, and then he, you know, then he cramped it, right?
Right. Okay.
So if
Yeah.
you're writing from a wood, then you will do a measurement. You will fit it properly. Then it will be proper, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sir, one more question. I mean, in general sense, you are saying that Indus Valley script is a multilingual script. I mean,
Correct.
are there any other examples like a Sumerian or in
No, a
Akkadian?
script is a script, my friend. The script is a script. The
No, no.
language is
What
a
I'm asking is, at that time, are there any similar examples where same single script is used for multiple languages?
Brahmi, for example, or
Brahmi
you're
is very
talking about the
different
same
period.
time
We cannot be
during
same.
that period, you're saying. Okay. During that period, yes, I think, if you see Hurrian, Akkadian, right? They were using cuneiform,
But
correct?
cuneiform is,
So,
anyone else is using cuneiform? Any other language?
yes, so Hurrian was different from Akkadian, right?
Okay.
So they were using the same script, which is cuneiform, but the languages were there are different dialects in that area, right? So they were using all that all the time. All the time it's been used. The script is different from language. You can use Brahmi for Tamil, for Prakrit, for Pali, for Sanskrit. It's been used, right? So and you're using now English. You're typing English, Telugu in English.
Yes.
So that's a Roman script. Yeah, you're typing Telugu. I'm typing, Hindi. Somebody's typing Tamil, but it's all in, and then you have this computer which corrects it and say autocorrect because
One
it
more
does not
off-topic
recognize your
question, sir.
language.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what? This is a very interesting analogy actually. When you're typing in Roman and Telugu and it does autocorrect because that doesn't know that Telugu word. So it autocorrects, it matches with the dictionary and it autocorrects it. So it makes it, instead of multilingual, your machine makes it only one language. That's the same analogy here. Oh, it's not as simple. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it. But then he's also oversimplified a lot of things. So it's fair and square.
Yeah, one more last question from me, also off topic. Uh, where do you place Vedas?
What's that?
Veda. So I mean, it is one of the important aspects in Indian culture. So where
Correct,
do you
correct,
place
of
them?
course. Well, my knowledge about that is very weak, to be honest. I read whatever I can read. So that subject is something which I will not touch upon right now. Although there are some indications based on the words, for example. So I depend on reading, man. My word of truth is from reading. So I read Srikant Talageri, and he has done an epic work on Rig Veda, Samhita. So he has identified that there is old Rig Veda and new Rig Veda. Now, obviously, some people don't agree with him, but he has done a terrific work. And he has identified that there is a huge chronological gap between old Rig Veda and new Rig Veda, right? And there are some words which are not found in old, and there's some words which have been found in new, which have come, right? So where these words came from. So, for example, I can only speak from my decipherment that there's a word called Anirudh and there is a word called Riddhi. Now, in Rig Veda, you have word Nirudh is there, but I'm not sure where Anirudh first came in Vedas. Similarly, Riddhi. So where the word Riddhi, I just showed you a seed. It says Shivam Dwadash Namam Riddhi. So if this was a prevalent word, then it should have been there in the Rig Veda and the Vedic culture. So whether they were in the same region, in the same time, or different regions and different time, these are the kind of questions. And this you can only identify by identifying which are the common words, whether those same words are used in Indus script, used in Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, whichever Veda, right? So this is a topic of a great uh, research once the decipherment is complete, right? So the first step is to decipher it completely and comprehensively, and then we will see whether it was relevant or not, right? So yeah, I mean, I will leave it to the later day. I will not really go more into that. It's a very slightly very sensitive to some people. You understand, right?
Yeah, I know. Thank you very much, sir. That's all from my now. I will surely review your work once again. I will go through your timeline. I will read everything, and then I
Sure,
might
sure.
come with some
Most welcome.
questions. I will message you in the Twitter.
You're
Uh,
most welcome. You're most welcome. Yeah.
yeah, Monkey, have you got anything else, or shall we close the line?
Yeah, just thanks. Thanks. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. I really like your work, and I really wanted to move. Yeah, I mean, I wanted your work to be complete and published as soon as possible because people like me also read from your work. I can also read from your work, and we can know the knowledge of how to decipher it and something like that. So I request you to publish your paper as soon as possible
Point taken. Point taken. I got it. Yeah.
because
Working on it.
it will be easy for
Yeah.
people like me to read it and understand our
Sure.
history and our culture.
Of course. Of course. Of course. Well, that's the that's the whole concerted effort we have. All of us are basically want a closure. We want to know what it is. So I completely understand your concern, and I'm really sincerely working on it. I mean, it's what I'm saying. I'm fully dedicated to it, right? So as much time as I can give to the subject, I'm giving. But my job is quite challenging, you must understand. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's
I can
kind of a
understand.
balance which I have to make. So I'm doing my best.
And your work is
Let's hope
also
for the
very
best.
marvelous, sir. Really, I'm not denying Yajnadevan sir or not you. I'm appreciating both of you. You are doing very marvelous jobs, and you are also making things. See, a few years ago, I thought it cannot be deciphered in any way. A few years ago, that
Correct.
is my thought. But right
Yes.
now, I am having multiple approaches and multiple type of theories and multiple concepts. So
Yes.
soon, maybe in few years, we will know what is industry in exact. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so for that, I
Its time
have
has
to.
come. It has time. Its time has come.
Yeah, its time has come, and we have to break it. And people like you are really doing marvelous jobs. Thank you very much, sir, for making your time to
Thank you so
visiting
much
my
for
channel.
appreciating it.
We will
Thank you
grab
so
you.
much for
We will
appreciating
grab you before the CNN grabs you on the shutdown.
it. Pleasure is all mine. It has to be within our, fellow
This time,
people, and I will give preference to you over CNN any day, my
yeah,
friend.
this time we will be first to I mean the host the actual decipherer. So yeah, I mean
Well, it might be historic in a way because this is my first interview, but that depends whether my decipherment is successful or not. It depends
we
on
hope
a
is
couple
I
of
mean
things.
like we the children of the civilization must do. I mean it's an
Yeah.
obligation for us. Like I
Right.
mean yeah.
Sure, no, you're right, absolutely right. So, jokes apart, this is a extremely delicate and a serious issue, and I have my full reverence and my full dedication to the subject, I can assure you, and I will leave no stone unturned to do that, and I will be doing it in a very unbiased manner, and I will not hide anything. I will do my best because this subject is also very spiritual, and it's very this is something which affects all of us, and especially to me. And am I cannot tell you the things which I found, and sometimes I cannot sleep throughout the night because the things which I found, it is so profound. So I can promise you that I will do my best to get this across as soon as possible. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank
And
you.
thank you
Thank you.
very much for
Thank you all.
letting me host you in my panel.
Pleasure is all
Uh,
mine.
yeah. So everyone is watching, please like and share to your friends, those who want to watch this. So I'm closing this live for now. Thank you very much to everyone. Bye bye.